Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Xoxo, this is Xoxo Tarot, and in today's reading, we're going to be trying something new that I'm really excited about. I'm going to be giving you guys the opportunity to ask about anyone. It will help if it's someone you're romantically interested in, though, or that you're already with, but it doesn't have to be a romantic person. In fact, it can actually be someone that you don't know, or someone that isn't even on this planet anymore. Actually, this reading was inspired because I was looking up my synastry with Ben Franklin. I was just curious. We're not very compatible, and that doesn't surprise me, but our communication was compatible. So it just made me curious. I was like, you guys can ask about people that are in your lives that you want to know, like where your strengths and weaknesses are. You can ask about people that you don't know, that you're just like, I wonder if we would get along or be compatible. My only stipulation is, I feel bad that I shouldn't have to say this, but I do, because it's the internet. Whatever comes through in this reading, if you're asking about someone you don't know, don't be violating boundaries and making people uncomfortable. Be respectful. That's just the one thing I have to request. This is not a, yeah, anyway. Also, I want to mention that compatibility, so how compatible are you both? It's kind of a rhetorical question. We're kind of going to be looking at what is free-flowing, where there is challenge or room to grow. We're going to be looking at a lot. So let's actually get into that. And I'll circle back to that. So we're going to start by looking at you on the left side of the screen, you and the energy you do bring if this connection is in your life, or would bring if this connection was in your life. So this is not going to sound like you all the time. This is going to sound like how you would show up in this situation. And unless you're like, I would never show up in any circumstances that way, then you probably found the right reading. If it doesn't resonate though, pick a different one. And then we're going to look at the person you're asking about and the energy they would bring. So this is just kind of how they're showing up, how you're showing up, and how you guys would interact with each other, like the overall energies you would embody or the overall energies you do embody and the connection you have. Then we're going to get into the tarot, and we are going to be using reversals, and essentially cards that come out upright are going to represent easy flowing energies that are pretty much compatible, and there's not much need to work on that element of the connection with the other person. However, if there are cards in reverse, I'm going to treat them like squares, and squares aren't inherently bad. I mean, they're not bad at all. They're just where there's tension, and oftentimes that tension leads to a need to grow or change or address that tension. I mean, it can be like very extreme, but ideally, like, you know, how those tensions are dealt with, I think, is very dependent on the people and the circumstances, the relationship, things like that. So we're just going to be looking at, you know, what's free flowing, where there's room for growth, things like that. So, and we're going to look at that for your physical connection, mental connection, emotional connection, and spiritual connection. For those of you not asking about a romantic interest, or for those of you that are aromantic or asexual, you might want to change some of the questions to suit you, and that's totally fine. Do what makes sense for you. But then after we do the tarot, we're going to look at the biggest pull, strength / allure this connection has. So this is basically the biggest like energy that would pull you both together, or that does pull you both together, and it's just like a big component of the connection. And then we're also going to look at the biggest challenge this connection would face, or will face, or has been dealing with if you know, you're in a relationship with this person and known them for quite a while. And then we're just going to finish off by looking at the point or purpose of this connection. Like, what benefit would your souls get? Would you get out of your human experience by being with one another? So this started as something that was meant to be kind of simple, but then I realized I could go really in depth. So if you guys want another reading like this, definitely let me know. If you guys want one that's more like surface level, so that you could just like test different connections, feel free to let me know that. Or if you want to do like a second round of like in-depth, let me know, because this is very experimental, but I'm really excited to try it, and I'm really excited to see if you guys enjoy it as much as I do. So speaking of that, I just want to say that yes, even if there's a lot of like challenge and like tension in the reading, that doesn't mean that the connection is inherently bad. It does mean that it will likely be harder and more difficult, but there's also more room for growth. So sometimes, you know, people are happier in connections where there is a lot of need for evolution and growth, and sometimes people are a lot happier and generally peaceful, consistent energy. So it's really, there's really no good or bad here when it comes to compatibility. It's just what is already working and what needs work with each other. So we have 3 different tarot decks for you guys to choose from today, starting with this first deck. She is new on our channel. We are going to be using the Squid Cake Tarot, and I have this Amazonite Merkaba on top. And then for group number 2, we are going to be using the Spirit Speak Tarot, and I have this clear quartz geometric shape on top. Don't ask me to know geometric shapes off the top of my head. I was afraid of my geometry teacher, so I went to my mind palace during that class. And then finally, for group number 3, we are going to be using the Tarot of the Trees deck, and I have this Malachite hexagonal looking guy on top. So go ahead and pause the video if you need to decide which pile you feel most drawn to. It is absolutely okay to be drawn to more than one. Just take what resonates and don't let the rest take from you. Intro Squad, this is my question for you. What is a placement of yours or a placement of someone else's that you feel like you see in a different light? Ideally like a positive light now that maybe you didn't before. Or like what's just something that you love about your chart, or what's something that you love about, or just what's something about your chart or about placements in general. Like what are some of your like favorite placements? I'll go first. My favorite, I think one of my favorite placements in general is a Taurus moon. Like I kind of trust Taurus moons in my life because all I want to be in this world is comfortable, and they know how to do that. And I just really love and respect how they are very good at like curating and cultivating a cozy vibe. I'm a huge fan of it. And I just find Taurus moons to be very sweet and very like, I don't know. I've had a positive experience with Taurus moons. That's all I'll say. But also I have both an Aries and Pisces stellium, and I really like those. Although I will say all of my placements basically are opposing. So I've got like a lot of Aries placements and a Libra rising, and all my Aries placements are in my 7th house. So those are opposing. And then I have a Pisces stellium and a Virgo moon. So my Virgo moon is opposing that entire Pisces stellium. It's a challenge sometimes, but I like the unique mixture. I think it's fun, and I'm grateful that I have a little bit of earth and air to balance me out. I actually really like my chart. Oh, and you can even too, if you're more into like Vedic or Sidereal or whatever, go for it. I don't know how, I haven't explored all of them deeply enough to really know what I prefer, but I will say I am comfortable in the realm of tropical. But yeah, let me know what you love about your chart, what you love about placements that you love in other people. Let's be positive. Let's talk about the light aspects of people, because there's so many of them. Okay, that being said, we're going to go ahead and get into the reading now. Go ahead and pick your group or groups if you need help choosing. Thank you guys so much for being here. I love you guys so much, and I cannot wait to see you in your reading. Hi there, pile 1. Welcome to your reading, and thank you so much for being here. If you guys chose the Amazonite Merkaba and the Squid Cake Tarot, this is going to be your reading on how compatible are you and the person you are asking about. So we are going to start by looking at you and the energy you do bring or would bring to this connection, as well as the person you're asking about. And I shifted things a little bit from the intro. We're just also going to add in the biggest strength, pull, allure, and the biggest challenge before we go into tarot instead of after. So to start with how you do or would show up in this connection with the person you're asking about, we have the Scorpion, and we have Truth, And as for the person you are asking about how they show up in this connection, we have the Spider and we have Fortune. And then as for the biggest pull, the strongest pull or the biggest strength of this connection, we have Appreciation, and the biggest challenge, we have Radha. Okay. Wow. So, like I said in the intro, how compatible are you is definitely a bit of a rhetorical question. But this is very interesting because I think there's actually a high degree of compatibility despite the differences here. I mean, a scorpion and a spider are quite different creatures, but one thing that they do have in common is the fact that a lot of people are scared of them and they are quite misunderstood as creatures. I feel like for you, showing up in this energy, I feel like you come in with just a very strong fiery energy. You could have fire placements, or this person could just really bring out your inner fire. I feel like you show up in this connection, or would show up in this connection, as someone who's very passionate, very fiery, but also someone who is a bit guarded and also a bit... The words sensitive and fragile both came out, but I don't feel like that is how you are generally. I feel like there may be, though, some fragilities and sensitivities when it comes to painful past experiences around the type of connection you do or would have with the person you're asking about, where, especially if it's like romance or if you've just been scorned in the past, I feel like there is a part of you that has a bit of an unresolved like defense. You have a bit of a defense mechanism around certain unresolved wounds, and I think that there's a level of belief around that being the truth that this person actually would help you realize isn't, but I do feel like it would be kind of confronting, like, because what I see in this person's energy is, number one, they are quite secure in their own world and they're showing up in tons of earth energy. We not only have the root chakra here, but we also have earth energy with the spiders, so they could have earth placements like Virgo, Capricorn, or Taurus, but they absolutely do not have to. What I will say though is that this is someone, whoever you're asking about is someone who's generally prosperous and would actually bring a lot of prosperity to your world as well. Maybe there is some sort of like feeling of defensiveness or like this feeling of frustration around where the person you're asking about is at, because maybe they are at where you want to be, or maybe they are at a place in life that you are not, that you want to be, but also you feel like it's hard for you to read each other. That's definitely what it is. I feel like one of possibly the biggest challenges here when it comes to connection is both of you have wounds around self-esteem and around self-worth. And I think that for you, group one, you showing up in this Scorpion and truth energy, I think one of the things that's really confronting about being in connection with this person is it does seem like a lot of truths that are based on wounding are brought to the surface to be confronted, and they're not necessarily the other person trying to make you like feel that way or see that. It's just more so a natural response of being in connection with a person like the spider. Because one thing I see about a person like the spider is that the spider doesn't really need anyone, and you're the same way. Like when I look at the Scorpion energy, like you're definitely someone who is quite independent and honestly borders on isolation, but I think it's because you're very passionate, driven, motivated, competitive, and you're also someone who is really, really, really passionate about like truth and what the right thing is. And sometimes objective truths and created quote unquote truths that are really just beliefs based on past wounds, like especially when it comes to truths about being in relationship, those are coming to the surface to help you see what's true and what is just an inhibitor. But I would definitely say that your energy is very refreshing for the spider, because if you do know who the spider person, well, obviously you know who they are, but if you know them in person, this spider person is somebody who is kind of constantly tending to others around them, the world around them. I guess I should also mention too, if you see yourself in both groups, then just take that as a sign of, or both sides, and just take that as a sign of mirroring, and pick whichever side you feel like is more you. Because there could be similarities there. Because I do feel like you guys have a lot of similarities, but at the same time, you are very different people. And I think the differences really just come down to how, like, your wiring, like how you guys are naturally wired. But I feel like in terms of how you both see the future, how you both see your lives, like the type of lives you want to live, and the characters that you guys have, like I feel like there's a lot of similarities there. I feel like, though, this spider person, whoever it is you're asking about, there's someone, like I said, who is prosperous, but they're also incredibly creative, and it seems like they bring a lot of fortune to your world, or they would bring a lot of fortune to your world if they were in your life. Now, one of the things that I do see, though, is that based on where you're at, financially and materially, their level of prosperity could either be something that leads to tension in the dynamic, or actually be something that leads to inspiration, or just leads to greater ability to create more together based on where you are already at. If you're at a place right now where, or would be, if they were in your world, if you would be at a place right now where their prosperity would be something that made you feel inadequate or insecure about where you're at, then I definitely think that part of the tension here is really about recognizing where you already have so much value beyond what you think is the most important form of value. And in fact, one thing I see with the spider, it's really interesting. There's no color directly, and actually it is the case for both of you, but with the spider especially, there's all the color in the card is around them, not necessarily like in their, like on them. And I feel like a lot of times they are measured by the value of what they put out, and the value of how they support others, and the value of how they give themselves to the world. And it's kind of like they have this greater web of people around them, or this greater web of people that depend on them, or something like that. That is also partially why they are prosperous, but it's also something that, number one, makes them busy. Number two, also can kind of leave them feeling like their value is in what they give and not who they are. So actually, one thing you guys ironically have in common has to do with worth and value. Like, I think that you guys have a hard time seeing your inherent value as you are. And I think one thing that's really actually very similar here to the both of you is that it seems like you guys have really eaten a lot of shit in life and turned the other cheek instead of stooping to other people's levels. And there's something here where, like, both of you are just very anti-nonsense and very like, man, I'm just trying to get through the day. Like, I'm not worried about useless petty crap and drama. Like, it's just not a focus of your world. And I think that that's actually something that's really beneficial, because I think so your biggest challenge, the fact that we have Radha here, like, she is a goddess of love and passion and, you know, lovely things like that. My Hindu friends in the comments, if you would like to elaborate and be more specific, please feel free to. But I feel like your guys' biggest challenge is really, how deeply are you willing to be loving towards yourselves so that you can be loving in response to any tension that this dynamic creates? Because one thing that I do see here is that while you do have so many similarities, how you experience them could be quite different, and how those similarities look in the world might be quite different. I also think in general, timing wise, like, both of you have both of you inspire the other. And I think for you, this spider person, they would inspire, or should I say inspire? Ha. If you don't like for that, you're heartless. I'm sorry. Actually, no, I'm not sorry. You should be sorry. Anyway, the spider does or would love to have your energy around, because it gets to the point in ways that I feel like they are not able to, because either they feel guilty or they feel like they're not allowed to have feelings related to frustration, because they are blessed to be in the position that they are and blessed to give to others the way that they do. And they know, and so it's just kind of like they rob themselves, ironically, even though we're using animal cards, their humanity. And I think there's something just about your like untamed, like there's just so much soul and spirit in what you do and how you see the world. And they really love that. And they also love that that is infused into what you do or how you move in the world. And I feel like for them, you're really inspired by just the life that they've cultivated for themselves, and their level of independence, and what I think seems like a lot of security. But I think both of you have pretty tough shells. And I think also both of you are incredibly misunderstood, and that maybe leads to you both demonizing yourselves. And also, I feel like if you are the Scorpion, you're probably more likely to feel scorned by slight things if you still haven't healed from certain wounds yet. Otherwise, you would just see them as they are, and use that as an opportunity to see more clearly and not let an illusion create an intense emotion within you. But I do think that the spider person with all this earth energy, they would bring a level of stability to your world where it would really help you see, or they do really help you see what is truth and what is an idea that I cultivated that I believe is true, because it resonates with a wound within me. And I think that inherently the two of you just have a lot of power. You're very powerful. And if we talk spiders and scorpions in terms of the ecosystem, both are very necessary and very needed. And I think in a lot of ways too, you guys are like, you guys are two people that handle a lot more responsibility, I think, than most. And I think that that's something you actually bond over as well. I think for the spider, there's just something very freeing and liberating about your energy, where you help them kind of see beyond the web they feel responsible to continue weaving. It's kind of like they almost feel like they can't give more time and energy to themselves, or like they can't honor what their truths are speaking to them within, because if they listen to those truths, it might mean that they have to change how they do things. And I think they're very afraid of that, because they don't want to, I guess they just seem very committed to how they give to the world. I also think though that the spider is incredibly creative. I think you are too, truthfully. I think you both are incredibly creative, but I think you're creative in different ways, and how you express that creativity is different. Ultimately though, I feel like where you guys are different, it can either be very frustrating, especially getting to know one another, because I think that the way that you guys communicate, the way that you guys process information, the way that you guys interact with one another, I think it's a bit different. But at the same time, those differences really reflect the unique perspectives you both have, and how you both can fill in the gaps of where your own perspectives leave blind spots. So there's definitely, there's this potential and opportunity to be stronger together than you are apart. And one of the things that I really like about this energy is we have this appreciation card. And this is the strongest aspect. And I think that the reality is that the differences that you both possess are things that you deeply admire about one another, and are I would say either weaknesses in your world that you're trying to build upon and make stronger, or you just really fundamentally appreciate who the other is. I think that you see this person you're asking about, or would see this person you're asking about, as a huge blessing. And I think that this person would also see you as a huge blessing, because I feel like you would validate truths within them that they haven't had others recognize. And also, I think that you have just a level of comfortability in your own power and comfortability in honoring your authenticity that I feel like the spider does as well when they are around the right people. I feel like they have a hard time honoring their authenticity when they're in more of a service position. And it just seems like they're in service positions a lot. And they like to be there, to be fair. It's just that I think that you bring a liberating energy to them where they recognize where maybe they've been keeping themselves a little bit too trapped out of obligation or guilt. And I think actually what the biggest challenge here is, like I was already saying, is there's the potential for really deep like love here. And like if this is a romantic relationship, there's very deep potential for that. And I think if this is like a platonic or some other sort of thing, like business sort of thing, one thing I will definitely say is that there are challenges that like especially around communication and around like just a learning curve around understanding how the other one operates, how the other processes, because they are very different. And if you don't have that insight, it could be very easy for both of you actually to kind of project your fears onto the other and create like disconnect or discord. I feel like for you, that experience is a lot more visceral. Like I feel like you feel the fear and the reaction of what might be happening, even though it's likely a misinterpretation. But I feel like the spider person really like swallows how they feel and they don't really like to share it. And so that could definitely be something that leads to some challenges. We'll get there in a second with like communication or like the mental connection. But I really do feel like for the both of you, the biggest challenge is how deeply can you hold love for yourself so that you can hold love and connection with each other? Because clearly there's a lot of potential, or there's a lot of love here. And I think that depending on where you guys are at with love, how you are able to be loving towards yourselves, I feel like that challenge is like, okay, how can we address things in a loving way? How can we handle challenges in a loving way? And also, how can we love ourselves enough to be more authentic, to like, because I think there's also this element of the both of you inspiring the other and filling in little blanks of where you guys are being kept trapped. Because I'm paying attention to this number 15. You know, 15 in tarot is the Devil card. And the fact that we have appreciation here, I feel like you guys really have the potential to help the other break free of cycles and patterns and habits that keep each of you trapped, that are like just inhibiting both of your abilities to live more fully and to also love yourselves more authentically. I think both of you like who you are, and both of you recognize a lot of inherent strengths you have, but I think that those strengths are almost so powerful. There's a guilt and shame around it where it's like it's almost not fair, or it's almost like you're ashamed that you have that much effect over a person. Well, I think maybe more so the spider person than you. It seems like maybe you're more comfortable having an intense effect over a person. I don't know. I guess that's up to you to decide. But what I do know is the strongest pull is that you genuinely respect one another and really appreciate the influence the other has on each other's, the influence you guys have on each other's lives, and and what you can teach one another. So we're gonna go more deeply into this now, and I'm just gonna shuffle your deck. And while I'm shuffling, if you want to leave me a little relaxy, go right ahead, because I'd be really grateful for that and I'd really appreciate it. Lets me know what you guys want to see more of. Also, yeah, thanks for also letting the ads play, especially this month. That's super, super helpful for me, so thank you. While you do something else, I don't expect you to like play the sound or anything or do anything like that. I'm not a monster. But I do appreciate everyone who takes time to support me, because I am passionate about giving free, high-quality content, even in this economy. Okay, so what is the energy of the physical connection between the Scorpion and the Spider? Okay, we have the Fool. What about the mental connection between the Scorpion and Spider? We have the Seven of Pentacles in reverse. Okay, what about the emotional connection between the Scorpio and the Scorpion. So maybe you're a Scorpio. We have the Ace of Swords upright. And finally, what about the spiritual connection between these two? Wow. Okay. So I would say, yeah, overall, you guys are really like very compatible. And I think that what's so interesting too is like, we have the beginning and the end here. Like, I actually think that like your spiritual connection, if this person is somebody that you are like, that is in your world, or that you are meant to have in your world at some point, if they're not a, like a person you don't know and a person you're probably not going to interact with. What I will say is like, I think that this connection will start with a physical draw, a physical pull towards each other. Or I would say that just your physical connection in general is one that, number one, I would say you guys are physically attracted to one another. But number two, I think that there's just something, and it's actually energetic, where you guys just in general feel very comfortable in one another's presence. I feel like especially if this is platonic, I feel like there's a level of like mutual respect for one another where neither of you are trying to assert your power over the other. Like there's just more of a playful, fun vibe where it's like, oh, I see an equal. Like I see someone that can keep up with me in ways that other people struggle to, and that I have a hard time with, because like, I want to be able to run with someone who can run at my speed, So I feel like your physical connection is one that's very light and fun and playful. I would say that if this is a romantic connection as well, I would say that you guys are like very playful physically as well. I would say that you guys probably too like never stop, like you would never stop like wanting to be closer to each other, physically connecting, having fun. I think also you guys make each other laugh a lot. I would not be shocked if there's just something like being in each other's physical presence in general, I think brings a levity to life that you may not have otherwise. Like I think that you can experience moments of levity outside of this person, but like I'm just saying, like one of the components of this connection, like when you are in physical proximity to each other, there's just something like there's just something soothing that makes the energy lighter. It's almost like your guys' energy interacting together. There's this feeling of solidarity that's actually kind of subtle, but it's just like real recognizes real. And I think that you guys kind of have this like feeling of being refreshed around one another, where it's just like, oh, like we just go with the flow. Like it's not that deep. Like I feel like you guys are very open to each other's suggestions, following the other's lead. Like, and I also think as well, you guys are likely planning things in the physical world, or if you were together, you would be planning things in the physical world, like things you wanted to do together, things you wanted to experience together, journeys you wanted to go on, so on and so forth. And I would even say as well, like in terms of a physical connection, I think that this connection could inspire a lot of changes in your physical health, a lot of a fresh start in how you see yourself, a fresh start in your self-esteem as well. Now, looking at your mental connection with the Seven of Pentacles in reverse, this is going to be the single most challenging energy. And I feel like this energy is going to be the most challenging partially because it goes into communication, and it also is an energy that requires patience, and because there could be a lot of intensity between the two of you. And also, I think just one reality that you guys might experience as well is like there will be a lot of times where you will be in the dark about what's really going on with the other person until things are more established to where you both feel truly safe enough to share those things. And that just takes time and trust and the willingness to be vulnerable. But with the Seven of Pentacles in reverse, on both ends, there's a fear of the other leaving, betraying, being abandoned, and also a fear deep down of not worthy of being invested in. And so one thing that I see here are two people that, number one, really respect and admire the other, and number two, do not want to reveal the level of fear around the idea of being fully seen. Like, I think both of you have misguided ideas about your value and your worth, like I already said. But when it comes to being in connection with each other, where your mental connection, the intellectual connection between the two of you is going to struggle, are instances where you are afraid to share out of fear of what if this shifts the dynamic in a way where they don't want to continue investing in me? What if this shifts the dynamic in a way where they just leave? What if I open myself up and I realize like it wasn't worth, and they realize like I'm not worth investing in? Like, there's definitely that real fear on both ends. But also as well, I think both of you struggle with psyching yourselves out, especially with the Seven of Pentacles being in reverse. Like, I feel like both of you see one another in your future, but are very afraid to share that out of, number one, the fear of being vulnerable, and number two, what if we do invest in this and then it doesn't work out? What if they don't want the same thing? But really what I see here is that the challenges in communication and in understanding the other's thought process, it's really just a matter of patience, and also showing up and like being willing to ask those scary questions, like ask those questions that are like, hey, so I noticed like when your brain is like, when you're in this area, like you seem to act this way, and in this, like, I feel like observation and patience are really going to be the two things that are needed and necessary in order to improve communication and understand how the other thinks, how the other processes, how the other shares. And that's just going to be a process of taking time. So what I would say is that like, if this ends up being someone who like, it's definitely something where like this connection flows the best once there's been enough time established between the two of you to really get to know one another deep enough that you understand how the other operates. And so there's much less danger of taking things personally that are not personal to begin with. And really the thing here is that both of you have these like deep fears around being abandoned, around being left. And so I think that both of you have a lot of mental walls up around what you are willing to share, and also how open you are willing to be until you know it's safe to go further. And I think that's totally understandable, but I think both of you are that way. So it is going to be, it's going to take a little bit of time for you to start really understanding each other on that deep of a level, because as number one, it's going to take time to like have those conversations, have the courage to even have those conversations. And number two, to just like see the other's patterns enough to be like, oh, okay, like they act like this because they're in this place and it has nothing to do with this, but maybe we could improve this by implementing this solution. Like, there's definitely like there's a lot of room for improvement here that can be very solid. The only time you won't see solid room for improvement is when the solutions you try to implement are either unrealistic for one of you or just unrealistic for both of you, or it doesn't work for the other in a way where it's like, I don't know, it's just, it's inhibiting. But I definitely see though that like, this is more so just a matter of creating security through time, like over time. And then those will naturally dissipate. And then, you know, you turn, when you find those solutions, I mean, unless you guys choose not to work on it and, you know, do your own thing, but what you're allowed to do. This Seven of Coins being upright instead of reverse, like, it really would speak to me that the mental connection between the two of you at its best would be one where you guys are constantly sharing ideas. I could definitely see you guys like combining your worlds together, and so I feel like a lot of the mental connection between the two of you could be like both of you staying on top of things in ways where it's like, okay, I know they're gonna go pick up the dry cleaning today, so like I'm gonna go grocery shop even though they didn't ask me to, because I know that will not only make life easier, but it'll really mean a lot. Like, I think that you guys will find tools and solutions that work for you over time, But it is a matter of patience. And I also think that like your mental connection will also evolve over time because you'll build new tools and new ways to communicate. Now, as for your emotional connection, I think your emotional connection is especially powerful because your emotional connection with the two of you is actually what, number one, will lead to an improvement of the intellectual connection between the two of you, but also it will bring a lot of clarity to you and this person about your worlds and what's true for you. And also, you're just going to be seeing yourselves more clearly. You're going to be seeing your hearts more clearly. And also, you're going to be understanding truths on a much deeper level, like emotional truths that lead to greater clarity in communication, greater clarity in your path, greater convictions in your decisions and what has meaning to you. But also, I think both of you have a great deal of emotional healing to experience together, where number one, you see past painful experiences in new lights. You see past experiences that you thought weren't a big deal in lights where you actually grant them the severity that they deserved, and realizing like, oh man, I didn't deserve to experience that, or oh man, I can't believe I went through that. That's kind of messed up. Like, things like that are experiences you might notice. But I think in general too, both of you have like a level of, once you start sharing your emotions with each other, because I do think that will take time. And I think one thing as well is that like your connection, it will start, it seems like, more surface level and physical and like just like getting to know you sort of thing. Like, and then like I feel like the last component is the spiritual component, even though maybe one of you starts in that in the spiritual component. But I really do just feel like no matter where you guys are at consciousness wise in terms of the compatibility of the connection, I think it just starts like in each other's physical presence. Like, you guys like keep it light, you have fun, you know, you're goofy, you goof around, like you don't get too serious with one another, things like that. But once you start opening up and sharing that stuff, there's going to be so much clarity around, number one, illusions you guys may have had around like fears of things you couldn't share with the other, like, you know, fears about yourselves that made you feel like, well, what if I'm not lovable? Like, what if I'm not enough? You know, things of that nature. But also, your emotional connection leads to a lot of clarity and a feeling of being seen and heard, which I think is very powerful. You guys have an ability to honor and care for each other's emotions, but also at the same time not put up with shit if the other is like projecting some emotional experience onto you, or vice versa, you know what I mean? I really think that there is a level of cutting through illusions created by emotion and seeing the truth behind it, leading to more liberation, and also the freedom to share more often, and the realization that it's actually really safe to share with each other, because it leads to more freedom within yourselves and more peace, because you're no longer judging yourselves the way you might have in the past for how you experience things emotionally. And then to have the spiritual connection here, I do feel like whoever this is someone that you would have a spiritual connection to no matter what. I feel like if this is someone that you don't know and that you're likely not going to meet in this lifetime or something like that, or are not meant to be in close proximity to this lifetime, I think you will still connect spiritually to them. I feel like they might be part of your soul group in some way. And, you know, maybe this lifetime just isn't about doing that. But if you are in each other's worlds, or if you believe you will be in each other's worlds, I do feel like spiritually that is the element that is going to cement the bond, because I really do feel like, number one, there is this just deeply fulfilling element of this connection, because it seems like I was saying earlier, you guys are similar where it counts, and similar in ways that's really like nice. Like, you guys like are kind of just, neither one of you has to overcompensate or work hard to keep up with the other, or slow down, or like dumb themselves down, you know what I mean? Like, you guys are very much on each other's level. The only way you're not on each other's levels is just, well, actually, like in anything, it's not that you guys aren't on each other's levels, it's just like there are some levels where you guys are on completely different sections of that level and just need to learn what the other side, like what the other section looks like, so that you can interpret it more clearly. But when it comes to your spiritual connection, I think it's just incredibly fulfilling and actually the thing that would deeply cement the bond. I think actually the spiritual component is what brings this element of heaven on earth. And also this like the soul level bond that I think you guys would have is one that, number one, would make any challenges a lot easier to deal with, because number one, it's like, oh, it's safe to work things out. It's safe to have uncomfortable conversations. It's safe to have conflict because we're growing here. But also I think that there's a level of security that feeling the spiritual connection between the two of you and what that creates, like, makes the both of you feel safe enough to unlearn things, not take certain things personally, just like not approach the connection with as much fear or angst or panic, because the stakes are not as high as they feel, because there's really a lot more loyalty, consistency, steadiness, and stability, that until you both truly feel it spiritually and like acknowledge that and talk about that and share emotionally too as well, I feel like that is when things will be the least compatible, because it's like you're battling your perception versus reality, and also your insecurities versus your perception versus your reality. So I do feel like there's a very just fulfilling element here of this connection on a spiritual level. Like for the soul, you get a lot of meaningful growth, but also a lot of meaningful connection. And the fact that we have such deep, passionate love here with Rana, like, I think that you guys are the type of people that like truly, like, you could get on each other's nerves and be very different in certain ways, but like, you guys are going to figure it out. Like, and I think that honestly too, you wouldn't even get on each other's nerves because you understand how the other person operates, and you either come up with solutions together, or you just accept where the other is at, and it's not something that bothers you the same anymore. Like, I feel like a lot of things that you, that would be deal breakers, a lot of things that would be like things that you would never would like accept in another person, or never would even like find attractive in another person. It's like with this person you do, because there's just so much love here. It's like things that would be a lot bigger with a different person, they're actually, you realize how small they are in the grand scheme of things when you have like that level of stability, consistency, love, and connection with someone. I definitely think there's a fixed element of like spiritual connection, expansion, and evolution between the two of you. So I feel like in general, you guys are really compatible. And I think that your incompatibilities are what make things spicy and are also what makes you both better. And I think both of you have a thirst to always be better. So I think like you guys make each other, like, this is the type of connection where you really help one another be better. And also too, neither of you feels threatened by the other's power. I think if anything, the only time you'll ever feel threatened, or they'll ever feel threatened, is when they're at like they're unsure if sharing something or working through something is going to be a deal breaker or lead to like abandonment or loss. And once both of you realize like that's not really on the table the way you thought it was, and you realize like, oh, like not everyone is just gonna abandon me at the drop of the hat, like, I think that is really going to help you guys recognize like that would be the breakthrough to really create like just such a level of compatibility and free flowing that like you're not dealing with tension very often. And if you are, it's solved and addressed and you move forward very easily. I don't think that either of you, like, I don't see either of you really keeping score, which is really interesting for you, because I do think like of the two of you, you're a little grudge holder. I see you, I'm clocking it. And I think that for you, I think you'll be able to realize like, okay, it really wasn't my fault that this person screwed me over. Okay, like I really don't have to hold on to this anymore. Like, okay, like I really can let go of this idea. Like, it's not protecting me anymore. It's actually keeping more love out that I want to bring in. So we're going to go ahead and finish this reading off by looking at this card that is going to represent like the point or the purpose of this connection. And I'm actually going to read what it says in the guidebook, and it's going to be kind of up to you to take what resonates here. But I'll also point out like what makes sense to me, but I'm just going to read all of it and let you see it. So that fits a lot with the first house and the body. I definitely think a huge purpose for this connection is really helping both of you become your most authentic and empowered selves possible, but also to feel more good, to feel more good in yourselves. I'm a product of the U.S. education system, as you can tell. You guys really will give each other the confidence and the courage to go for things you wouldn't originally, and also just feel better in your own skin, like feel better being who you are. Like I feel like you'll realize like a lot of this stuff that maybe you felt ashamed of, both of you felt ashamed of, you would realize like, oh no, actually, like this is just people that couldn't appreciate who I am, like my natural rhythms. And I also think like with this spider here, like whoever the spider person is, like even if you don't like ever meet them in person, like if they're just someone that you've had this weird like pull towards, it's probably because like they're either like in your soul group on like a big level, or there's a lot of things that you deeply relate to with them that like, and I would say that you don't even need to meet them in this lifetime in order to benefit from wisdom they might have for you. So I would just like pay attention to how this person inspires you, because it's definitely something you're meant to act on. But okay, let's see what the first house says, if I can find it. Move ahead with confidence. You are rising. The first house in astrology begins with the ascendant, the astrological constellation rising over the eastern horizon at the time the chart is cast. In the natal chart, the ascendant represents the moment you were born. Like the sun and moon, the first house is one of the most important parts of a horoscope. The first house represents your physical appearance, how your body works, and where your strengths and weaknesses lie. It is the beginning to everything. The first house is also the mask that everyone else first sees. Although the first house is also the house of the self, it's also the persona you project. It's how you relate to the world first. If the first house card presents itself in a reading, it means you will soon be feeling your own strength. Although it may feel natural to just try and take over and assert your power, you may need to pull back some. Try not to control or dominate certain situations, as this could backfire. Definitely this is a situation where if you guys, like if trying to dominate or assert power, it will backfire. But I think that it's like the reason why there's so much respect is there's a recognition of each other's power. More positively, people may feel comfortable with you as their leader and they won't mind following your lead. And I do think at times too as well, like you will get comfortable, like there will be times where both of you will or would take the lead in this situation. It's important that you don't abandon your goals now out of boredom. Presently, you will need to start things with great gusto, but you must follow up. You need to finish all that you start. The first house shows your image. How you come across to others is of utmost importance now and bears greatly on your success. Perhaps you may opt for a new look, and indeed this can have a bearing on how successful you can be. And I think with this first house, how you come across to others is of utmost importance. I think that is kind of something significant in this relationship when it comes to compatibility, because how you come across, like how you handle things that upset you could make the situation 50 million times worse or 50 million times better. It really just depends on how, number one, how much self-control you have to not be reactive in the moment. Number two, how many tools you have to communicate and how many like tools you have to express in ways that are aligned with your truth, not with how you're feeling at the moment. Like all of that will be really helpful. Since this house opposes the 7th house of partnerships, it is a good omen regarding relationships of all kinds. Yeah, yeah. It can mean relationships are about to mature or become more serious. Marriage may be on the cards, or it may be transitioning into a better place concerning other people in general. As the first house is also about your physical body, it's important to pay attention to your health and the signals your body is sending you. Your body is an ultimate container, the first place your soul passes into. The first house card also speaks to the beginnings and starting anew. It implies the time to honor your gift of being distinct. It also suggests a position of leadership. When this card turns up in a reading, It may be time to defend something of value to you, perhaps your reputation, your authentic self, or your chosen life path. You may be challenged where you must stand by your convictions. You could also have conflicts with certain authority figures and thus need to go to some extra measures to keep a cool head in any given situation. This card marks a period of being tested or challenged and indicates who you are and who you will become. Whatever is implied in the surrounding cards will indicate what must soon be faced and met. All in all, the first thing to consider with this card is how healthy you are and your stamina. Then your role as a leader or just you as a person who is about to start something significant. Always look at the surrounding cards to determine what comes next. So, and the corresponding tarot card is the Fool. And so I really do think when it comes to your compatibility, this is a situation that could either completely implode and be a situation where it's like you guys choose to go your own ways, but you learn a lot about yourselves and it changes how you act in the future. But I gotta be honest, I feel like for a lot of you, whatever this situation is with this person, if it's not just someone that's like out of your orbit and someone you're not likely to meet, like this is likely someone that is compatible, and they're even compatible in the ways that they bring tension to your life and your world, because those places are places where you need growth. And believe it or not, they're experiencing the same thing, and those are the places where they need growth. So there's just a lot of empowerment here, and clearly with Rada and like appreciation and this like first body card and the world, like yeah, y'all are very, very compatible. And I would say that like your incompatibilities are really just choices that you made on a soul level to help you grow in your physical vessels as people while you were here together. So group 1, that's where I'm going to leave this reading. And okay, here's an arbitrary number. If you're watching any of the other groups, I can't promise I'll remember this, but I would say you guys in the beginning are like 60 to 75% compatible. Once you reach the level of understanding with one another that the mental connection is not such a deterrent to being open and vulnerable with each other, then I would raise that score up to like 90, 92, maybe even 95, depending on how easy it is to like accept each other's quirks and idiosyncrasies and find solutions that work for the both of you. But that being said, now that is where I'm going to leave this reading. So thank you guys so much for watching. And thank you so much for letting my ads play in the background. That's one of the simplest and easiest ways to show support and appreciation for my channel. But if you'd like to support me in other ways, thank you for liking this video, commenting down below, letting me know how it resonates, subscribing if you haven't already, clicking that little notification bell to be notified whenever I upload a new reading. Check out merch, social media, check out candles, sign up for my email list. If heaven forbid, if something happened to YouTube, this helps us stay connected. It's also, if I ever open personal readings, it's only going to be for people who are on my email list. So you better be signed up for that, because otherwise if I open them, you will miss it. Also, sometimes I send free stuff and fun stuff. But yeah, that's just like, sign up for the email list. It's a good idea. Okay. You can leave me a tip. My Cashapp is palehag. My PayPal is my email. You can hype it. I don't even know how to do. I don't know what it's about, but I want to be hyped. So if you can do that, I'd like it. Thank you. Yeah, and you just send me good vibes. I'm sending you good vibes right back. Thank you guys so much for letting me do this reading. I hope it really resonated and made sense for you. I hope you all have a wonderful day or night whenever it is that you're watching this video. I love you guys so much. I hope you all have a wonderful day or night whenever it is that you're watching this video, and I hope you'll come back and see me again soon. Bye! Hi there, Pile 2. Welcome to your reading, and thank you so much for being here. If you guys chose the Clear Quartz and the Spirit Speak Tarot, this is going to be your reading on, have you ever seen a white horse? Huh. Anytime you have to sneeze or someone else has to sneeze, and well, I guess use this information wisely. If someone else has to sneeze, you can cock block their sneeze. So ask them if they've ever seen a white horse, and it will stop their sneeze. However, the fact that I did just randomly have to sneeze does tell me that you guys are very blessed. And I feel that that is a message not necessarily related to the reading, but like it could be. But I really just feel like if you came to this reading and this part doesn't resonate, especially, like, you just need to know that there's a lot of blessings in your world right now, or you're being very blessed, or blessings are coming to you. But for all of you, blessings are coming to you, and hopefully you do resonate with this reading. So let's see if you do. Full breakdown of the reading in the intro, but starting with the energy you would be showing up in, or are showing up in, if the person you're asking about is in your life. We have bear and sensitivity with the sacral chakra. And for those of you that are listening, the energy that's meant to represent you is on the left side of the screen if you look at some point. And then for the person you are asking about, this is meant to represent either how they would show up if you don't know them, and how they do show up if you do know them. So we have the crocodile, or at least how they show up in this connection. And we have concentration. And then as for the strongest pull or allure, the thing that's drawing you together, or that would draw you together, we have the door to value and a burp that I blocked because I'm so classy and demure and mindful like that. And then the challenge that the two of you, the strongest or biggest challenge that the two of you will have to face is Kapha in reverse. Okay, very interesting. There's a meeting of the minds here for sure. And actually what's interesting is I feel like there's a lot of similarities, but also not a lot of similarities to group one. Like there's a lot of things that I see here that are, I don't know, like I just feel really good right now because I feel like I attract really powerful people to my channel, and that makes me feel badass. So you must have a lot of power. Thank you for gracing me with your presence. What I really see here when it comes to you and the person you're asking about, there is a real meeting of the minds. But when it comes to compatibility, I feel like both of you in your everyday worlds have like dynamic energy. But when it comes to this connection, I feel like it's hard for both of you to initiate, or hard for both of you to take action unless you are super certain that the other wants the same thing. At least so on your end. What I'm seeing for you and how you do or would show up in this connection is that this connection seems to be an initiator of some kind. When you meet this person, and I'm like hearing specifically in person, it doesn't have to like, meeting them in person does seem like to be something, like when you meet them in person for the first time, like that seems to be somewhat of an initiator. But I guess like if you're not meant to meet them or something like that, maybe their influence is meant to be an initiator, and that's why you are thinking about them in this way. But ultimately, for those of you who know who this person is, and that's who you're asking about, I feel like you would agree that after you met them, even if it wasn't like in person, or at least like online, there was some sort of interaction, that I feel like started a transformation and a spiritual, like, it doesn't have to be awakening, but at the very least, a spiritual catalyst for spiritual evolution. I feel like that is initiated, and the initiation itself, although spiritual in nature, is spiritual and emotional when it comes to being embodied. It's kind of about like bringing your spiritual side, or bringing your energy down to earth, and also connecting more deeply with your body. I feel like this connection wakes you up to your own connection to your body, but also it brings a much stronger connection to your emotions. And this person, whoever you're asking about, seems to have a very strong ability to influence your emotions. It seems like you're especially sensitive to what they do or don't do. And what I really see here is that for both of you, there is interest. But with this crocodile card, whoever this person is that you're asking about, their focus isn't always on you the same way that your focus is or would be on them. And the reason why that is because number one, I feel like you are more of a like, you can have multiple things bouncing around in your mind. And actually, I think what is challenging for you is having less things bouncing around in your mind so that you can start to ground more fully and not get like overwhelmed by how all the things bouncing around in your mind like take you away from your responsibilities or your grounding or things of that nature. Whereas I feel like for this person that you're asking about, they did or would go through an initiation themselves with meeting you, but the difference is that theirs is emotional in nature, and something that is quite powerful because their emotions are being activated likely in intense ways for the first time in a long time, or they are someone who is deeply uncomfortable with their emotions and have been detached from their emotional body for a long time. Actually, it's really interesting. Both of you have a lot here with emotions, but the difference is that for you, it's connecting with your emotions through physical sensation and how you experience them in the body. And for this person, it's connecting with emotion and how you process them. So like for this crocodile person, experiencing emotions in general, I think is a bit overwhelming, but just being in them, it's almost like they're so overwhelming, they need time to sit and process in them. And I do think there's a lot of emotional intensity within this connection that I think can actually hurt this connection more than it does help it. At least I think it's actually something that's like a growth edge rather than a free-flowing thing. Like I think the emotional intensity leads to tension, not easygoing flowiness. Now, I feel like one thing that you guys would or do have that's really nice and free-flowing is that when you're together, there's a very beautiful, like, gentle, nourishing, nurturing energy that the both of you feel. And I think for you specifically, you would say that like when you are with this crocodile person or when you're interacting with this crocodile person, very much you feel like their focus is on you, but it seems like when they're not in direct interaction with you, it seems like their focus is elsewhere. And it might come off as kind of confusing to you, and it also might be something that you're more sensitive to with this person than you would be other people. And as a result, like I feel like you might be extra reactive or extra sensitive to any perceived slights or any like small things that this crocodile person does that genuinely are not personal, but that might feel personal because you're very just sensitive to how they show up to you. And one thing that I'm noticing as well is that we have 14 and 41, so there's definitely some mirroring energy here. And one thing that I feel like with your energy and how you show up in this connection, or how you would show up in this connection group too, is that like I don't think you recognize your own power in the situation. Maybe that's one of the things you're going to discover over time, but both cards here, we have predators, like objectively predators. And the thing, and really the only difference between a bear and a crocodile, beyond like a lot of things that are just in their body composition, is the fact that bears can be depicted as cute, fluffy things, and crocodiles are not often depicted in that way. And so I feel like, but bears in real life, I think it's best to leave them alone. And I think that you might feel like, I don't get it, like why? Because one thing that I see about this crocodile person is that when they're focused on something, all of their focus goes towards it. No matter what it is, they pour their everything into whatever their focus is on. And so when you are with them or connecting to them is going to feel incredible because you are getting like 100% of their focus. But when you're not connecting with them, it's probably going to be harder because their focus is elsewhere. And it's not like their focus is on like, what their focus is on is usually likely has to do with financial things, career things, or needing just personal time to cool off, to process emotionally, because they're going through a lot in terms of just opening themselves up emotionally. I think that they, like, if one of the things that's going to be challenging for them is this newfound, like, expansion of emotional awareness. Oh my gosh, I just realized. Twins. The crocodile's twinning with the Amazonite thing. Anyway, they can really like focus on something for a long time, and I would say communication isn't their strong suit, especially when they get caught up in something and they need time to process. And so the thing is I feel like both of you fear one another. Both of you see each other's power, but I think on your end, you feel especially sensitive to maybe any caution they have around you, because I feel like you would read caution as unavailability, but the reality is it's not unavailability, it's caution, because that crocodile is like, whoa, there's a bear in front of me. And not to say that you're literally a bear. That'd be kind of funny though if like the bear was like commenting. It's like, actually I am a bear, and I actually find it really offensive that you like they're like tapping their little claws. I don't know, that's funny to me. The bear person, like I feel like you only see yourself as like the cuddly teddy bear version, and it's like, yes, that part of you is very much there, and I think they very much get or would get that teddy bear part of you, but you're still a bear, bro. Like you can still do some damage. And I think another difference is that I think that there is a level of warmth in how you express yourself, that this person, they don't easily share or express their emotions in the same way. You might be an earth rising and they might be a water rising, or something like that. That doesn't have to be at all. But what I do see here is that you tend to be more forthcoming with your emotional experience, and I feel like there's just a warmth about you that the person you're asking about doesn't have naturally. Like with a crocodile here, like they're literally cold-blooded animals, and that's not to say that this person is a cold-blooded animal, but I would say that in order to survive, they had kind of shut off a lot of their emotional responses because they needed to in order to survive. Now what I see here is that with a connection like this, that's not going to cut it anymore. And in fact, it's not even going to cut it for the crocodile person, because they want to have access to their emotional experiences with you. But so one thing that I see here is a lot of misunderstanding around the fact that what you see, what you fear about the other has fears as well. And I think both of you struggle to initiate because you're waiting for the other to make a move. And that leads to a lot of stagnancy, which is actually the biggest challenge here. The biggest challenge here is that whatever this relationship or dynamic is, it can get stuck in ruts and things can fester for a long time. If there is a grievance or something left unresolved or a conflict the two of you are holding back on engaging in because it's like, we don't want to see what happens when a bear fights a crocodile, the challenge is, I think, really discovering how do the bear and the crocodile have a respectable diplomatic summit where there is no fighting involved. I gotta be honest though, bear, I have to give you some credit, because I do feel like if a bear and a crocodile were gonna fight, the crocodile is gonna win. However, I guess it depends on the terrain, because like, let's be real, if the crocodile, if it's near water, like crocodile, 100%. But let's say we drop a crocodile into a forest with no body of water. Bear might have an advantage. I don't know. Let me know what you think. It's actually very important. I need to know, bear or crocodile. And actually, let's take environment out of it and like fully put them in a void where it's just literally like crocodile v bear, natural strengths, go. I still think I'm gonna root. I still think crocodile would win. And so part of me is like, crocodile, I think you underestimate your own power, which I definitely do. But one of the biggest allures and pull that you guys have is that, number one, there's a lot of potential for you guys to build financially. So whether this is a business partner type thing or literally a romantic thing, whatever it may be, you guys could build a lot together. But I think that this door to value goes beyond just like financial and material gain, but I think there's just a lot of value in being around one another. I think both of you broaden each other's perspectives. I also think both of you teach each other patience and also teach each other the nature of your own power, because I think that having someone else that you see as more powerful than you, because that's actually the truth. Both of you see the other as more powerful than you, and both of you are wrong. Well, unless we get our crocodile and bear simulation, which I really honestly am like, not a big AI supporter, but somebody's got to run the numbers here. It's not going to be me, but Actually, if we could just have a human do it, I think that would be better. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted. Sorry. You know I'm not the crocodile, because that ain't me, bro. And I know I'm channeling you because I'm like you. And that's the thing too, is that you can, here's one thing I'll tell you. This crocodile person is in your life. One thing you need to know and understand is that their brain doesn't flip from thing to thing the way mine does and the way yours clearly does, because I'm doing it in this reading. So transitions for them are challenging, transitioning from one thing to the other, and they can get literally sucked into something. And that doesn't mean that they can't be better at communicating. I agree, that's likely something, we'll get into it, that's actually something we need to look at. But what I see here is that one of the strongest pulls, like one of the hardest things really, is being able to move through the disconnects and really understand how the other operates, because I could see both of you really holding back on things that you want to share and vulnerabilities out of fear that the other will be upset, or out of fear of creating an argument or something like that. And it's not like, both of you, the reality is that both of you are just doing your best, and you are really different people. Like, I would say in terms of compatibility, like, I think in a lot of ways you are compatible, but I think the thing that's most incompatible are your insecurities. And I think that there's something actually very compatible in your insecurities where they make them compound, where like you both kind of seem to engage in behaviors that are not things that the other fears, but they aren't reassuring either. And so I think there's just like this ambiguity left for the both of you, where you don't understand the intentions or the whys behind actions, statements, ways in which you interact with each other, and like behaviors that you engage in. And it's like, until you communicate and talk about those things, it's going to be kind of challenging. But like, let's actually use the tarot, and instead of me just channeling out of my butt, or channeling out of my crown, out of my mouth hole, to your lovely screen, let's pull these cards. So we're gonna start by looking at physical connection. And physical isn't just like, you know, like in like physical intimacy. I was also talking just like physical, like physicalities, like how do you vibe, like what's your, like, you know what I mean? Like, are you guys stiff upper lip type people together, chaotic, you know what I mean? Okay, hopefully. I guess if you don't, you probably left by now. What did you in? Was it the bear and crocodile fight thing? If so, you do need to leave, because I think that's primo content. Anyway, bear and crocodile. The person that group 2 is asking about, what is the physical connection like between group 2 and the person they're asking about, or what would it be like? So we have the 9 of Pentacles in reverse. Okay, that makes sense. What is the mental connection between the crocodile and the bear? Okay, we have the Wheel of Fortune in reverse. Yep, that makes a lot of sense. And what about the emotional connection between the crocodile and the bear? We have the High Priestess in reverse. And what about the spiritual? We have the Queen of Pentacles. Wow. Okay, and on the bottom of the deck, we have the Knight of Pentacles. So, I gotta be real. You guys are not very compatible as people. However, that means nothing in the grand scheme of things. People can be less compatible and still work. But this is a relationship where there is more work to understand one another in order to make these upright. Because when we look at these cards upright, they tell a different story, and it's actually quite exciting. And so what I really see here is if you address these challenges, the connection will not only flow a lot more easily, but it seems like these challenges are here for a reason. Like the lessened compatibility is here to give you guys the opportunity to turn these cards upright and create a very functional relationship dynamic with each other. So starting with how you physically connect. How you physically connect is deeply tied to material gain. And it seems like both of you have insecurities about your self-worth and also about your independence. I think that both of you desire independence and desire to be known on a deep level. And I think you both desire closeness, but at the same time, you both desire stability and security. I feel like there's kind of this, when it comes to how you guys physically interact, I feel like there's kind of this holding back of, what's the best way to put this? Like, I feel like both of you, even if you feel secure out in the world, generally, it seems like when you're around one another, you feel less secure in yourselves. It's like, it's almost like you can see your value until you get around each other, and then you're afraid you're not enough. It's kind of that thing. But also what I can see here as well is your physical connection is tied to financial stability. So your ability to see one another, your ability to interact with one another, the things that you're able to do together, all is tied to finances, it seems. And it does seem like as well that independent, I was trying to say individual and then independent came out, and so that's why that sounded weird. Individual or independent. Financial acquisition seems to be something very important to the both of you. It could be more important to one than the other, but even so, it's still, that lack dictates how, that lack still dictates how you're able to interact with one another until you feel more confident sharing and expressing, is what it seems like. I think actually too, in terms of your physical connection as well, it seems like both of you kind of hold back on sharing more because I think that you misunderstand a lot of just the beautiful things about the both of you. Like, you see them as bad things or you know, just things that are like, they're not polished, they're not like socially acceptable, but they're gems. Like, they're the wonderful things about you, like your sense of humors, or you know, those weird thoughts that you shouldn't say out loud but you do anyway. I have to say, saying those weird thoughts out loud that I shouldn't but do anyway has been quite lucrative for me. So I would actually highly recommend doing it. It's worth the hate. It's worth it. I gotta be honest, because most people love it. And I think if we were all a lot more honest with each other, the world would flow a lot more easily. And so I really do think, like, it's hard to understand, like, number one, each other's body language, and number two, to feel comfortable connecting with each other physically in general until you have a sense of security within yourselves. Like, I feel like until then, there's kind of this awkward dynamic where both of you are holding back a little bit, and both of you are holding back on even what you want to give to the other, because you don't, number one, you don't want to lose what you've already cultivated with each other, but you're also afraid of not being enough for more, which makes me really sad. And I hope that if this dynamic is something that you guys are in, I hope that that's something you guys are working out, because when it comes to how you connect, how you're connecting mentally, I feel like both of you, and this makes a lot of sense, it's like both of you are still relating from your past experiences and from what has held you back in life, from, you know, I feel like you're looking at one another through a lens of, how do I protect myself and keep myself from re-entering a cycle I don't want to enter that sucked. And as a result, it does kind of leave you both a bit defensive and protective in ways that make it hard to connect more deeply, because neither of you are really willing to open up to the other. However, when you turn both of these upright, not only do you have financial stability and true healthy self-esteem and independence, but you also have two people building a future, two people focused on building a future that is exciting, two people thinking about long-term, like what do we want to build, what do we want to do. And this is also two people thinking about themselves, what they have to offer the world, and how they can work with the world to achieve that together. Like, I feel like there's a lot of, when you get on the other side, I guess I should say if, not when, but it's my hope that you do, because the potential is here. It's really just a willingness to face what you're afraid of facing, and like facing those uncomfortable bits. That will change the game for the both of you, because right now it's like you're trying to protect yourselves, or as the connection would start, like you would start by trying to protect yourselves from misfortune, and also from a perspective of past misfortunes that you're either on guard for, or that you will go to great lengths to prevent, even if that means sacrificing your own authenticity or truth. Emotionally, what we see here is a lot of projection and a lot of misunderstandings around what's actually going on. The fact that we have the High Priestess in reverse, there are times where you might be picking up on the other's energy and not realize it and think it's your own. There might be times where it's your own energy and you think it's the other person's. Same thing, you might intuitively feel like this person's doing something and you're not recognizing that that intuition is actually paranoia. You might think that everything is falling apart, but if you checked into your own intuition, you might feel like, oh, actually it seems like everything's fine. We're just in an awkward place right now. It seems like the emotional connection between the two of you really activates both of your nervous systems in ways that really bring into perspective why you would be on guard. And to circle back, actually, because I want to bring in the Queen of Pentacles to this makes sense why you feel so good when you're around each other, and why it's so stressful when you guys are apart or feel disconnected. When you truly feel connected to each other and you're like, and the conditions are right for you to connect without pressure, I think it feels really good. And not only that, but it seems like, spiritually speaking, the impact that this connection has had has already brought value to both of your worlds, in how you take care of yourselves and in terms of financial acquisitions. Like, it seems like this connection brings a lot of divine feminine energy to both of your worlds. And divine feminine energy is not like, it's divine yin energy. See it that way. Don't add gender to it. What it's doing, though, is really helping you both learn how to receive, learn how to set boundaries with what you cultivate, learn how to protect yourself whilst also be more open. And I also think that this connection, how you connect spiritually as well, is like, you guys give each other reassurance, nourishment, wisdom, and I think you guys almost kind of mother each other in ways that you haven't been able, in ways that you weren't able to be mothered, or ways in which you weren't able to feel just nurtured and loved by others, especially whatever type of relationship this is or would be, depending on who you're asking about. It seems like for the both of you, you provide a level of security, safety, comfort, once again, nurturing, nourishment, protection, safety, security, like, and just compassion and warmth to each other that you didn't get from other sources. And so I feel like this is very powerful in terms of partnership. And you guys do have a lot of strengths here, but those strengths will be seen as threats until you realize the other person isn't a threat, and you work out how to see one another as a team against perceived threats, rather than seeing the other as a threat to your safety, happiness, or security. So for some of you, this could really be like an enemies to lovers trope, or an enemies to besties trope, or really just one where it's like you guys are really misunderstood, or things are really rocky in the beginning. But like with this High Priestess in reverse, I feel like emotionally, when you guys have a very clear connection to your own intuition, and have a very clear connection of your own emotional body of what's going on within you, it will be actually very easy to know what is intuition, what is fear, what is you picking up on the other person, and what is just a natural response to an interaction that's just your own organic feeling. So this connection has the potential not only to help you both feel more connected to your destinies and like consciously cultivate that together, and that be actually something that is a part of your mentalities. Like you guys are consciously building a future together. You are consciously like planting seeds that you will create further, and also consciously recognize that there's value and purpose in one another's worlds. And then also you'll be able to intuitively pick up on one another's energies and also connect to your own emotional bodies and trust your own intuitions a lot more deeply, because you're able to parse through the emotional data you receive and understand what the root of the emotion is, like what the source of it is, you know, whether it's your own organic emotion, whether it's picking up on someone else's, you know, those examples that I was listing. So we're going to go ahead and finish off by looking at what the point or purpose of a connection like this is. And for that, we have Libra with I'd balance. And I think I don't know if there's cities on here, but I'm just not messing around because like, I just don't have time to be messing around and re-uploading things if I do it wrong. We've got barren crocodile fights to simulate. Okay, so I'm just going to read this card, and basically like everything that hits for you and that rings true for you, you take. Whatever doesn't ring true for you, you discard. Because there's a lot of juicy insight in here, and there's no way I was going to remember it all, so yeah. All my life, my heart has yearned for a thing I cannot name. Don't go it alone. Linking up with a partner will serve you best. Libra is the sign of balance, charm, and beauty. Librans are notorious for their wit, ability to weigh and judge, as well as their appreciation for the beautiful things in life. They adore collecting striking things. That means objects and people. Librans are aesthetes with a love of art and literature that can, at times, be showy or vainglorious. Librans are known for changing their minds and opinions. What is true one day may not be true the next. Because they are so balanced, they see all sides to every issue, but they tend to vacillate and have trouble coming to any final decision. Librans tend to have second thoughts and change their minds at the last minute. They will also float along waiting for matters to resolve on their own without pushing as hard as they need to. That, I'm telling you, that's part of what this challenge is. You guys, like, one of your biggest challenges will be waiting for problems to resolve themselves, and they will not. They will just get bigger and more problematic. And they could really lead to, like, some intense blowouts here because... Hello, barren crocodile. I'm just interested intellectually, hypothetically, about what a barren crocodile fight would look like in the void. Like, you guys are powerful. And I have to be honest, one of the things that is actually another risk to this connection or relationship, it seems like, is that there might be people on the periphery that would just be interested in creating the inflammatory circumstances to watch a fight happen just because they enjoy watching things burn, or they are also curious to see what would happen. So don't let that sort of thing get in your way either, because that very well could just, because it's not even what either of you want. Librans make outstanding judges and negotiators. They can be agreeable, but sometimes agree to things they don't want, sacrificing what they truly feel and think just to get along. There's also a sarcastic Libra who loves to test his wit against others. Their quick-witted retorts are filled with sarcasm and sharp accuracy. John Lennon, Oscar Wilde, and Esoteric, I'm a Libra rising, are examples of the acerbic wit that Librans are so famous for. Yeah, God did give me the gift of verbal murder, and I learned that I have to use that gift with discernment, because you can hurt people, and it doesn't feel good to do that. We don't want to do that. They also love, this I don't love doing. I do on like a thought level. Like what do you guys think of Devil's Advocate? Because like I think Devil's Advocate is interesting on like a thought perspective, but there are certain things where it's like, no. Like matters of human rights are not a Devil's Advocate thing. Like that's just being a devil. Like, since Libra rules the 7th house of partners and marriage, those influenced by this sign do best in life with a partner, but it can be a sign of codependency, and many will pair up at the drop of a hat. Libra is the sign of lovers, and I actually think you guys have the opposite problem. I think you guys are hyper-independent in ways where it's really hard for you to open up and like add someone else to your life and to your world. I feel like you might be more open to that than this crocodile person is, but the thing is that I feel like both of you have this like have this desire for like partnership and then this fear of it at the same time. So I think the point of this is to learn healthy partnership and to learn like when it's not easy to translate what the other person is saying and doing, like learning that process I think would be really powerful for the both of you. This is a favorable card for romance and relationships and indicates a time where relationships are turning happier and more content. So maybe you guys are figuring these things out. That might be really exciting. Courtrooms, law, and fairness should play into the matter. If you are involved in a court case and the surrounding cards are good, the Libra card appears in a spread, it is a good indicator the issue will work out just the way you hope. The enforcement of rules may also apply. Legal documents will not only figure in, they will bring you benefits, especially benefits shared between you and a partner. This card can represent an impending marriage or an engagement. Relationships are about to move up a level into a more serious one. Feelings have matured. Happiness is achieved when you pool your resources with a significant other. I mean, that's a big thing. Like, you guys could really, like, do a lot financially together. Achievement will be found when you find the right person who mirrors your own ideals and beliefs. And that's really the core. You guys, like, everything that came out that was incompatible, these are things that can change. What's really important is that you guys have a mutual vision and you guys have the same values, actually. So that's another example of how this value goes beyond just like financial or material value. You guys, one thing that will draw you in, you'll know this is the right person, because I think that it would be very easy for you guys to assume this is a different person. You'll know that this is a different person than who I'm talking about if the person you're asking about has very different values from you and you guys have very different viewpoints of how you want a future. You and this person, whoever this is, because at this point, if it was someone you asked about, but this seems really significant and you're already here anyway, who this is this person would need to change their values to align with yours, or you need to change your values to align with theirs. Like, one thing that you guys have to be compatible on for this to work. Like, it's imperative. You have to have the same values and vision of the future that you want. Like, that has to be, you have to be on board with that, because otherwise nothing else is going to even be worth addressing. It's just going to be more frustrating than anything. It's going to be like trying to like keep together two dogs that want to run in the opposite direction, you know? This card can represent an impending marriage or engagement. Relationships are about to move up a level to a more serious one. Feelings have matured. Okay. Achievement will be found when you find the right person who mirrors your own ideals and beliefs. All matters worked on within sincere and equal partnerships shall prove to be successful to the utmost. So, group number 2. That is where I'm going to leave this reading. So thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you so much for letting my ads play in the background, and thank you for liking the video. Those are the 2 simplest and easiest ways to support me and my channel. Please mute the ads and don't watch them. It's just really helpful to me, so thank you to everyone who does that. Or just get YouTube Premium. Then you don't have to watch any ads and you can watch me ad-free. Ideal. You can please sign up for my email list if you haven't yet. Heaven forbid something happened to YouTube, you will always know where I am. Also, if I ever open personal readings, my email list will be the only ones to know. And also my email list is going to be the point of communication moving forward. So if you want to know what's going on in my world, you better be signed up for my email list, because otherwise you will not know. You can check out merch, social media, candles. Be sure to use code ASO10. You can leave me a tip. You can hype this video. My Cashapp is palehag. My PayPal is my email. You can leave a super thanks. You can send me good vibes and sending you good vibes right back. You can watch other videos once it's extended. You can share me with a friend or just send me love. I'm sending you love right back. I know I said that, but I'm saying it twice. That is all I have to say about that. I love you guys so much. I hope you all have a wonderful day or night whenever it is that you're watching this video, and I hope you'll come back and see me again soon. Bye! Hi there, Pile 3. Welcome to your reading, and thank you so much for being here. If you guys chose the Malachite doohickey and the Tarot of the Trees, this is going to be your reading on how compatible are you and the person you are asking about. Full breakdown of the reading in the intro. If you find yourself confused, please go there for all inquiries. Or comment. Hopefully someone can help you. Maybe me, if I see it. Okay. Starting with you, we're going to look at your energy, how you would show up in this connection if you're asking about someone you don't know or haven't met, or how you do show up in this connection if this is someone you know that you're asking about. So, ooh, okay. Hello. All right, I see we're starting quite fierce. Okay, so we have the Fox for you, and we have Serenity. Wow. I think actually every single person asking had a sacral chakra card. So interesting. Now, for the person you're asking about, let's see how they do or would show up in a connection with you. So for that, we have Octopus in reverse and Communication. And then this card represents the strongest pull or allure towards this connection, the thing that pulls you guys together most strongly. And for that, we have Cornucopia. And in terms of the biggest challenge between the two of you, for that, we have Parvati. Okay. Wow, it's really interesting too. Like, look at how similar the challenge and the like biggest strength or allure pull is. So group number 3, this is going to be a very interesting reading. And I have to say, just like straight out the gate, if this reading is not making sense, especially related to the person you're asking about, like if that's not resonating, try one of the other 2 groups, because they're much different energies. But let's start by how you're showing up. I mean, you're showing up in an energy that is the ideal long-term partner or mate. You are someone who wants monogamy. And so right there, my polyamorous and non-monogamous peeps were like, yup, different group. Love you guys. But also you are somebody who, and here's the interesting thing, you show up in partnership and in connection the same way that you're showing up in the world, which is you are protecting your peace, and not in like a toxic, like, I am protecting my peace by cutting out everyone who has an issue with me so I don't have to take accountability, but rather a leave your nonsense at the door kind of thing. But the thing is that you have room for a lot of nonsense if it's someone that tugs at your heartstrings. So it's like you're really good at rejecting nonsense when there's no like pull or need from someone you care about, but you are willing actually to put up with an extreme amount of nonsense if you get what you want, or if it means that you get to connect with someone who means a lot to you. We'll get there. I definitely feel like you are someone who, like, in terms of the person you're asking about, it doesn't matter if they're older than you, you're by far more mature than they are. At least when it comes to relationships. Maybe they have, and one thing I do want to say as well is we're looking at how the both of you show up in connection, and in the last 2 groups it has been more specific, like to how the people would show up in that specific connection. But in this case, I feel like the 2 of you are showing up in connection the same way you kind of show up with everyone. The thing is though, I'm about to read the octopus's energy, and how they are, there's a spectrum here. And depending on who you're asking about, they may not hit all the criteria of what I'm discussing. So bear with me as I point out the nuances of how this octopus communication energy could manifest. So let me get there. So the octopus person, the person you're asking about, this is somebody that for sure you have a lot of fun with, and for sure is somebody that is quick-witted, super intelligent, fun to talk to. And that's the thing, you've got the riz, you're charismatic, and you might not think you are. For some of you, I feel like you don't see yourselves as charismatic, but you are. You can also carry a conversation with a lot of different people without realizing it. I think though that one thing that I think both a fox and an octopus are 2 creatures that are considered intelligent and quick-witted. So I really do think that you guys get along around that. And I also think, especially looking at this allure, there could be creative collaboration here that leads to abundance. That's something I want to talk about more. But I think in general, the strongest pull of this connection with cornucopia here is it feels so good being around each other. And I also just feel like life is really fun and enjoyable and lighthearted and joyful when you're around each other. And I think that there's a beautiful mutual enjoyment where when you're in each other's space, it's like you guys amplify the good vibes. Like there really is no, like neither of you really bring bad vibes to the table. And the thing that's really interesting though is that I feel in a lot of ways a lot of the strong allure and pull of this connection is more so rooted in what you've already cultivated and your deep desire for joyful and fun experiences. And the octopus not only provides that, but they also really enjoy being around you and your world and what you provide and what you've created for yourself, and also the stability and serenity in that you have within yourself and that you bring to a space. This octopus person, they feel more contained and more secure when they're around you, and they also feel very they feel like they, in some ways, they can shut their brain off, or they can relax, or they don't have to be as hypervigilant. It makes me think about like, I am the leader until someone is more capable than me, and as soon as someone is more capable than me, I'm turning my damn brain off. Like, and I'm enjoying it. I don't know what year it is. I don't even know what language I speak. Don't ask me. Like, I'm in La La Land. I am in my mind palace. You cannot reach me. And I feel like there's kind of that there with this octopus person, but the thing is that they're not organized and together and stable in the way that you are. Now, that doesn't mean that they're a bad person in any way. In fact, I don't necessarily believe in, well, that's a philosophical can of worms we're not going to open. This octopus person, I feel like they could either be at their best. Let's talk about octopus people, in terms of people you're asking about, at the like best end of the spectrum of what I'm seeing here. At their best, this octopus person is someone who is incredibly well-meaning, but also very needy, struggles with independence, has very messy boundaries, is very, their communication is also very messy. They have very poor follow-through, but ultimately they're incredibly well-meaning and they are doing their best. And also this octopus person in a lot of ways is an absolute genius. Like they have like just such an incredible mind. They have an incredible heart, and they have this really witty mind that they are able to create and do a lot of different things. They're very multi-talented, but at the same time, they're very like slippery in the sense that it's hard for them to stay focused on one thing. It's hard for them to be committed. But the thing is, the octopus person at their best can be someone who thrives in a situation with a person like you if they if they are able to bring the same amount of value or some sort of substantial value to you that you give to them. And not to say that relationships are transactional in that way, but rather this relationship could be transactional if this octopus person is on the other end of the spectrum that I'm about to describe, that is less than well-intended. I mean, and maybe it even is well-intended in some cases, but let's keep going. this octopus person, like I said, at their best can be well-intentioned, messy, chaotic, and really need to improve their boundaries and communication skills, and also learning what is and isn't appropriate to communicate. Because I feel like if you don't want people to know something, and this goes for all of you when you're asking about this person, if you don't want the world to know something, do not tell this person. So, you know, for example, if the person you're asking about is like very trustworthy and consistent and is very stable, this is not your reading, my dude. Try one of the other ones. But with the octopus person on the less savory end, this is someone who is not wanting to grow or better themselves in any way. In fact, they live their life based on what makes them feel good and based on what next thing is exciting. What next thing will be intellectually stimulating, emotionally stimulating, physically stimulating. I wouldn't say spiritually stimulating, because I don't think, especially on the lower end, that there's a lot of spiritual connection there. But what I would say is that this connection I think that this connection is incredibly compatible in good and bad ways, depending on where you guys are at in life and what your intentions are and what you are wanting and how much you're operating out of fear and how much you're operating out of love. Because one thing that I could see here is that you guys could be incredibly compatible in a toxic codependent way, where you would basically be you're bringing in all of this stability and structure and security. You would 100% be the leader of this relationship. You know, if you've ever seen those like TikToks, shorts, reels, where the joke is like, she's Barbie and he's just Ken, like, you're Fox and they're just octopus. Like, it's kind of, and what that means is like, you know, you have this incredible person who's doing a lot, and you know, and then we have our Ken showing up and looking pretty. And here's the thing, if that's what you want, it doesn't have to be toxic and codependent. Because one thing that I'm seeing here is that this type of relationship could work very well, actually, if you are the type of person who wants to be in control, who wants someone who is going to do what you tell them to do, who needs direction. Because one thing that the Fox is a wise and strong partner, mate, and teacher. So you're going to be in a position of power in this relationship where, number one, the octopus willingly gives you that power. They do not want it. And in fact, they find the stability and structure you bring them to be quite a relief. Now, what I think the octopus person in your case brings to you, number one, is a lot of fulfillment, because I feel like what the octopus lacks in practical strengths, they make up for in connection, care, creativity, fun, playfulness, like, and they're also somebody who's really good at connecting with communication. So in a positive way, if the two of you really wanted that sort of, like, if this relationship could be highly compatible, if the octopus person is true to their word, has positive intentions towards the Fox, and the Fox person is not drained by the octopus person's needs and rather finds fulfillment and benefits from the octopus person's presence. It's like it's a symbiotic relationship here where both the Fox and the octopus are getting what they need. And realistically, you would think like, okay, there are very different strengths here that really do create synergy and symbiosis that is beneficial to the connection and would make you both highly compatible. However, I do have to be completely honest and say that I think that group of you is smaller and there are others. For some of you, I feel like you could be in this position, like when asking about the octopus person, there is so much potential for what you are seeing here in terms of this cornucopia energy, abundance, joy, playfulness. And I feel like this octopus person, when you are with them or interacting with them, there is a big energy of possibility and hope and future. And the one thing I need to stress to all my foxes out there, all my fox baddies out there, you need to pay attention to the octopus's actions and not their words, because their follow through when it comes to their words, very minimal. Now, they could be outright deceptive and manipulative. Like the octopus on the worst end of the spectrum, let's talk about it. The octopus at its worst is someone who is messy as hell, knows it, does not care. Someone who actively looks for people like you because they benefit from your desire for connection and partnership. They benefit from what you've worked hard to build for yourself. They bring the fun, they bring the vibes, but they don't really give you anything in return other than connection, emotional fulfillment when it's convenient for them, and also when you are giving them something that they want, and only then. And see, the thing is though, is that what makes this extra scary is that there's an intoxicating nature about how they communicate. They can be like, this is the type of person that can be saying, oh my God, I'm literally in love with you. Like I like, let's get married tomorrow. Like very love bomby, and then ghost you in a week because they met someone else who can give them rides to work and are willing to pay their rent. Like this is definitely someone who would drop you on the worst, let me clarify, on the worst end of the spectrum, the worst kind of octopus person this is someone who says they want commitment, says they want what you want, but their actions show that they clearly do not, and they will do anything and everything to avoid that commitment. They will say anything, do anything, anything that keeps you open and keeps you accessible to them without them, number one, being exposed or having to lose anything. Because on the worst end of the spectrum, what I also see is someone who's so emotionally needy and messy that they are willing to say and do any and everything they can to get the reassurance, ego validation that they need. So I feel like this is the type of person who is so afraid of looking like a bad person that they never improve because they are unwilling to look at themselves, and they're so afraid of facing negativity that they create tons of it all the time everywhere because they are unwilling to take accountability or hold any compassion for themselves. And for some of you, and I'm still talking about on the worst end of the spectrum, mind you. So for some of you, if you're asking about, I really hope for a lot of you in this group, like this is like people you don't know and like celebrities and stuff that you're asking about, because it's like, yeah, trust me, the fantasy is not the reality, I promise. You probably fell in love with their PR persona, not who they really are, or something like that. Hope you didn't like fall in love, but like, you know what I mean. It was more figurative. But I mean, I guess, I don't know, who am I to judge your emotional experiences? It's actions that we judge, and it's actions that I judge in this octopus person's energy, because this is the type of person that will say they want a lifelong commitment and be on multiple dating apps. This is the kind of person who will take you to meet their family and then drop you like a bad habit. This is the kind of person that will be hot and cold with you and future fake, and create a picture so vivid with their communication that you're almost certain it could be like it's hard to fathom how it wouldn't be real, because they're so sincere about it. But the reality is that there's no grounding and there's no actual stability or even opportunity to create what they're discussing. The octopus at their worst is someone who lives in fantasy and need and personal need and avoids reality at all cost. And in fact, if they are in a line of work relating to fantasy or storytelling or writing or something creative, they're likely very good at it. But the fact that we have Parvati here, I actually want to read her card. She's the goddess of love, devotion, and yoga. And I also think about, if you've ever seen the reality show Survivor, one of the best contestants to ever be on that show, her name was Parvati. And when this card came out, that's immediately who I thought of. And one of the things that she was very good at was playing the game and telling people things and do it. Like, she was very manipulative and she was very good at it. And she even married another Survivor contestant who was really good at it as well. Like, it's actually really cute and really badass. However, in the context of a game, not in reality. That is the kind of thing where if this octopus person is someone who only cares about themselves and is focused on their own survival and their needs, they will drain you dry without even thinking about it. And so that's at the worst. Now, somewhere in the middle, which I think a lot of you will find that the person you're asking about falls into, they are going to be very unclear with their intentions, very messy with their boundaries, say one thing, do another, likely come on very strong or tell you things that are very intimate and personal very early on, to create a sense of intimacy. And the thing is I don't think that they're doing it like inherently to be manipulative and to like make you trust them. I think it's because they just like don't know how to filter how they communicate, and they also like they confuse like trauma dumping and confuse just like sharing everything as intimacy. And also, for some of you, this octopus person could be someone that looks to you as kind of like a savior, as someone to save them from themselves because they can't get out of their own way. And so the thing is that for some of you, if you want to be a hero and you want to save someone, this could be a very toxic dynamic that you end up in where both of you want and have this codependent attachment to each other, and so you're compatible in that way. But the reality is that their behavior continues to impact your peace and your ability to just enjoy life. And that becomes really painful for you because you're just wanting connection and closeness, and they're saying they want that too. And then they do things that go and show that they're not devoted and committed the way that you are. Because one thing that I see here is you don't struggle with commitment. The challenge here is this person going to be worth the devotion and commitment that you are willing to give? And the thing is that at the octopus person at their best, they 100% can be devoted and committed, because not only can you help them create more stability in their own world, you can also help show them where there are inconsistencies in their words and their behaviors, because truthfully, I feel like in a lot of ways, they don't even realize that they do this. This is the type of person, if we're going to the middle of the spectrum, this is the type of the person that says things because they don't want to hurt people's feelings. And as a result, they hurt people's feelings way more because they're not being honest. They're literally being deceptive. This is the type of person who goes, instead of saying, hey, I just don't think things are going to work out, because they're afraid of looking like the bad guy, or they're afraid of hurting someone. They really avoid pain. They avoid uncomfortable negative emotion at all costs. And they get a lot of validation from, number one, bringing joy to other people's lives, and number two, from being needed and wanted by others. And part of how they, and I would say that on the more negative, like on the more extreme side of the negative side of how this octopus person can manifest, is they could just be really good at saying what people want to hear in order for them to get what they need. And none of it is really true. It's more so in their mind, if I say these things, they're likely to give me that, and that's what I want. So the challenge here could be too as well, you could really be in a relationship with someone who's saying all the right things, but their actions leave you drained, depleted, confused, frustrated, stressed, exhausted, not really having fun, and also continuing to stay committed because, number one, they would be communicating to you that they are committed, or they are just as committed, or they want that, whilst also doing messy shit in the background. Like, one thing I will say is that even the octopus person at their best, you might have to sit and work with them around, like, listen, okay, these are safe people to share things with. These are not safe people to share things with. Like, okay, this is appropriate. This is inappropriate. Like, they might very much need that because they might not realize it. They could have grown up in an environment where oversharing was just so much of the norm that they didn't realize there was a problem with that. Or on a more negative side, they may have realized that oversharing leads to others doing the same and makes them more open and more trusting sooner, and that allows them to have more power. I really don't want to believe that, like, for I really hope that for the vast majority of you, this octopus person is on the lighter side or the middle. But you know, in the event of like the extreme negatives, like that's why I just gotta say for all of you, trust this person's actions, not their words, because this person tries to use words like band-aids, but the words they try to use as band-aids are trying to cover up wounds created by things they've already said. The words they said before created wounds that need stitches, not band-aids. And I think the thing is for you is that you are someone who is so ride or die and so committed. And you could definitely be brought to a point of, when things are good, this is so fun, but like I feel like I can't trust this person. I feel like they're you know, they say one thing and they do another. You know, like I'm literally like I do not feel at peace at all. And so you would really be in a position where, do I choose my own peace or do I choose what's bringing me joy? And I think the reality is what's bringing you joy is a lot of what you've cultivated. It's just this person coming into your space and enjoying it with you, and also being so charismatic with you and connecting with you in the moment. What it really is a matter of is this octopus person someone who's capable of growth and change, yes or no? Is this octopus person someone who is willing and open to have the same thing as you and bring enough to the relationship that it's a balanced interaction and even relationship? Like, those are important things. But what I would also say is like, where you guys are definitely not compatible is if you want a stable, committed, peaceful partnership with someone who can pull their own weight. I feel like you might be really challenged by, you know, especially for those of you where this octopus person is super well-meaning. They're just like, they're just, you know, they just have challenges. I think it really depends on whether they try to grow or not, and whether they use those challenges as excuses to stay the way they are or as opportunities to grow and evolve. Because I feel like this is the type of partnership where if both parties, like if this octopus person really wants to grow and change and really just has needed someone to lean on and someone to believe in them, and also just someone to be patient with them as they evolve, like you would be the perfect person for that. And if that's something that's fulfilling, and the octopus person is someone that you like end up loving and caring about and trusting, and realizing like, okay, their shortcomings are easy things for me to, are easy strengths for me. So this can work out. And also I find it fulfilling to evolve together. Like, that's one thing. But if you're holding a relationship together because of, or holding the situation together because it will not stay together unless you do, or you're holding it together because you don't want to let go of them, like, you know, you really love like either the future that you've created together or how they make you feel and the dream that you have of the two of you, but they just seem to never be able to follow through, or it just seems like they feed in all this hope and then they do something else, or they could become inconsistent again. That's definitely a sign that this is super incompatible, and you're gonna tell when if this is an incompatible situation straight up, because it's gonna bring so much, like, it's just gonna erode any peace in your world that you already have. And one thing that I want you to realize too is that the main challenge is regarding the octopus, and the main allure and pull is regarding you. You are the pull and the draw here, and you might convince yourselves, because the baddies always do, and baddie is gender neutral, okay? I don't care who you are a baddie if you are watching this video, okay? Because it takes a lot to be able to listen to me for as long as I have. And so you deserve that. You deserve that. You are a baddie. But a lot of the joy and fulfillment that you have, that could be experienced in this connection, you've already cultivated in your own world. And there are plenty of other people who could provide that experience for you. Now, the octopus person can too, if they are not any of the things that I described that would be inhibitors. And if they are any of those things, I wouldn't say you write them off completely unless they're willing to open up and you're able to work together. Because I believe that people can grow and change, and sometimes we just need someone to believe in us, or just have the opportunity face ourselves. Because one reality is the octopus, no matter where they fall on that spectrum of negative or positive expressions of it, they don't mean to be the way that they are. Some of it is wiring, some of it is nurturing, like their upbringing. Some of it could be substance abuse issues or maladaptive coping mechanisms that they're just needing to work on. Some of it could also just be that they're so skilled at evading accountability that they've never had to face themselves. So the reality is the challenge here comes down to, is your devotion and commitment, number one, to each other true? We know on your end it's true, but is their commitment to you true? Is it something that they truly get behind and they follow through on? Or is it something that they say while doing another thing? Is it something, that's going to be a huge challenge. Are you devoting yourself to, the challenge is what you're devoting yourself to making you your highest self? Or is it taking you away from yourself? Because the reality is here is like the challenge is more so related to this octopus person. And I can also just see that there are so many cases where this type of relationship makes sense if it's what both parties want. Both parties are happy and fulfilled, and it's a fulfilling, satisfying, healthy, loving relationship. You guys are compatible as hell, but also your wounds are super compatible. So, because I feel like this octopus person, what they truly bring to you, they're able to say all the right things that touch your heart. They're able to bring a lightheartedness to you in your world that I feel like you don't always get. And I also think that because you are somebody who has built so much for themselves and is independent and has worked so hard in life, like, I feel like number one, you have a hard time letting yourself just have fun in general. But number two, I feel like you have a hard time letting people in. And I think that the octopus's intelligence and just unique personality, because I think you're very unique as well, like I think that's something that drew you in. But one thing that I think that you may not recognize quite yet is that you may also, until you recognize what needs to be healed here, if something needs to be healed, let me clarify, you might be drawn to unavailable or wishy-washy people because, number one, part of you might want to feel, you might like the chase of being chosen or the chase of being the one. If you still struggle with that I can fix them mentality, like this type of octopus person could definitely bring you all the necessary lessons and mirrors that one needs to see. But I don't think it's how you would want it, or it would be very ideal. Like this person, like this situation can be functional in the right circumstances with the right people. But in a lot of ways it can be incredibly dysfunctional and incompatible. But keep you both tied to one another, because the octopus could need what you provide and vice versa, and you could be afraid to let go of one another. One thing I will say though is, if this octopus person cannot be committed and devoted to you the way that you have the capacity to do for another, they cannot be in your world. And I'm saying this, like, I'm not even saying this as Xoxo, I'm saying this as Madison, like, just on a real human to human level. Like, I would put my face like in here to look in your eyes if it wasn't creepy. When you are someone who is such a solid partner in person, do not settle for someone who can't give you that same commitment in return. Because I promise you, not only can you get that commitment in return, but you can build with someone who shows you that you're easy to love. You are easy to love, and that's the reality. You are so easy to love. That's why you attract so many different types of people. And you might not think that you attract so many different types of people, but a lot of people just dream of you from afar because they don't feel good enough for you. And so the problem is that you can get an influx of overconfident, arrogant, or people that are drawn to you but are not very their character might not be as flawless as their speech is, and that could definitely lead to some heartache or heartbreak. But I mean, on the other hand, like I said, this octopus person, like in the right circumstances, in the right cases, with two very well-meaning people, this can work. It really just depends. And feel free to let me know which one you are, but we got to go deeper. It's just so interesting though, like what came through here. Because I think one of the biggest challenges is with this situation like this, a lot of times you don't know who an octopus person is until you've had enough time. Because the reality is like, you can't see if their words match their actions unless you have the time to see that. And also, if there are things you don't want to see because you want to see things a certain way, the octopus person is a really challenging energy to be in connection with, because it's very hard to discern what is truth and what is illusion. And I think also what's challenging as well is that the octopus person believes a lot of the things that they're saying. Like, I was watching a YouTube video earlier that was really, really good, that was analyzing Louis C.K. and, you know, his whole scandal. And one of the things that he talked about, not the presenter, but Louis C.K., and like the presenter was showing, is that he talked about lying and how when you lie to yourself, if you believe the lie, then it's true, then it's not a lie. And I'm like, okay, Jan, like, okay. As a bad liar, who doesn't do it because it's just like, I couldn't do it. Like, it's not like, it just makes life a lot easier to not do it. Also, I would never even remember lying, so that would just be super embarrassing for me. And then I would also feel bad. But it really gave me an insight into like, okay, that's why intuitively you can pick up on like people that are saying things that aren't necessarily true, but you intuitively pick up on it as really genuine. And that's because it is genuine. It's just, the truth is not even being acknowledged by the person saying it. Like the truth is something like that might be their truth in the moment. Their truth might change so much that like it just shifts so fast. But yeah, like their truth can change really quickly, and they can be all in 1 minute and then all out the next, because there's another shiny new exciting thing. It really just depends on whether both of you are really truly in it for the long haul and are willing to be open. Like, because I think that with the octopus person, like if they have good intentions and they're truly in it and devoted and committed the way that you are, I think that their powers of communication could be really, really helpful actually, and something that could be really great, because not only would I think it'd actually be helpful for you in expressing some more of your own needs and vulnerabilities that maybe you haven't shared with anyone, but also I think that their ability to communicate will also help them in terms of like when you share things, when you're helping them, if you're helping them in any way, like that would be some, like they learn really fast and you would see the changes relatively quickly as they grow and evolve. But okay, we got to go deeper. I'm yapping this. I'm sorry. Like this is just so interesting, and there's so many different variations here, and I have to be specific given that this is going to the void. And speaking of voids, like I said, notice how much your card matches the cornucopia card. They didn't cultivate that. You did. You might feel like it's easier for you to access those energies with them, but they're not the only person you can access them with. It's like, you know, sometimes when we romanticize other people, you know, we can feel like we were lied to, but, you know, really the reality is a lot of the magic that you see in others is the magic you put in them. So, just remember, you got the magic in you. All right. So we're going to do physical, mental, emotional, spiritual connection. So how do these two relate and connect on a physical level, please? And let's just be clear as well, you two also, another incompatibility is two different environments. So you either come from two different environments, two different worlds, or you might live in very different ways. Like you could be a day person and this person could be a night owl. Like you're up in the air, they're in the sea. Like you definitely have two very different perspectives that can help you and increase compatibility, but also in terms of lifestyles and how you live, like I could definitely see the octopus person's lifestyle being very grating on you if you're a very type A type person, or just be very challenging for you if you have a more rigid, regimented schedule. If you don't, I think it could work out better, but I do think that this octopus person is super type B, and I would say that it's unlikely they wake up before 3 p.m. on most days. They could work night shift, but they also could get money in other ways. Anyway, the physical connection, we have the Lovers in reverse. What about the mental connection? We have the Ten of Pentacles. What about the emotional connection? We have the Star. And what about the spiritual connection? Yeah, we have the Seven of Pentacles in reverse. Interesting. And we have the Eight of Cups on the back of the deck. So, yeah, I see why. So I actually want to start with how you connect mentally and emotionally. I think that there's something naturally very healing about both of your energies. I think for the Fox person, which is you, you want someone to share what you've already cultivated and also someone to build with. You don't want to be doing it all by yourself. And I think that the octopus person not only wants stability and security, but I think what and this really kind of breaks my heart. And I really and I hope I haven't been too hard on the octopus person. I'm sure however they are, there's reasons for it. That doesn't excuse actions though. I do think that both of you have this shared vision of legacy, of abundance, of wealth, of a family, of just basically like a stable life to build together and a legacy to leave behind. I think that you guys connect on that, but I think the difference is that you have the ability to make that real now. They may be able to join you in that prospect if they are willing to grow in the ways it's required of them. Because just thinking about, for example, if you guys want kids and are able to make that happen, this octopus person, I would be concerned, right now, give them a kid, I would be very concerned. I would. Not because they would intentionally harm the kid or anything, but they just might say things that could really scare a kid or could really confuse them or expose them to things way too early that it's not appropriate to. I could just I wouldn't even hire the octopus person to babysit a kid, because the octopus person in a lot of ways is a kid and is less mature than you. And unless that's something super attractive and something that you want and something that they are able to evolve out of too over time, because I promise, even if you find it attractive in inception, it will get old and it will get exhausting. That is something that will be very challenging. I do feel though, you guys have how you connect mentally, I think you have very you have these grand visions of the future, and you have these things that you're trying to build and create. And that is something that makes the connection feel more solid than it really is, because you're building a future, but who you're connecting with, they're not building anything, because they're not even on land. They can't even, how are you gonna even put the first stake in the ground when you're in the Pacific Ocean? So the octopus person definitely really struggles with pragmatism and reality. The octopus person has kind of vibes of oh, I'm a musician, and it's oh cool, what do you play? And they're well, I'm gonna start playing the guitar at some point. And it's wait, so you don't play an instrument? Yeah, but I'm a musician, I'm gonna be a musician. It's okay. And then you see them, it's hey, how's being a musician coming? And they're oh yeah, it's good. Once I get that guitar, things are gonna get good. And so it's they struggle to ground things, and they struggle to recognize that they struggle to ground things. Their fantasies are so real that it's hard to recognize how those fantasies don't bleed into reality. And honestly, I can kind of resonate with like my spiritual connection has really been cut off to help me ground, because I've needed that. Because if I was just hanging out around the 5D, a bitch never would. Because there's so much spiritual wisdom down here that I need to be in. And so emotionally, how you both connect with this star here, there's something healing about each other's energy. And see, the interesting thing is what's healing and what draws you is you both have something the other wants. The octopus has a sense of chaos and whimsy and just freedom of expression and a feeling of freedom to express themselves uniquely that I feel like you don't feel like you have the liberty or you're not allowed to do in the same ways. Not only that, though, I feel like the octopus has a level of softness, sentimentality, and honestly like a poetic way with words. And I feel like that is very healing for you, because I feel like one of the things you didn't get, and that partially what motivated you to work so hard in life, is you didn't get like the validation and reassurance you deserved growing up. It seems like either you were in an environment where whatever you did, it wasn't good enough, or nobody could celebrate your accomplishments because they were too busy being jealous and like focusing on what they lacked. Like they didn't want to see you succeed because they hadn't, and so they tore your accomplishments down. So I feel like what this octopus person does is they really see you. They see beyond what you provide and what you've built and who you've become, and they see the child in you, and they feed the child in you, because this octopus person has the ability to be quite childlike and be very joyful and jovial, and that's a wonderful thing until you need a partner who can't get out of that space and who is stuck there and acts more like a child than an adult. You want someone who you can tap into your inner child with, but who also responsibly files their taxes, or at the very least knows how to like recognizes that, you know, evading the tax man isn't a smart thing to do. Admirable, given what all governments do with funds, mine specifically, but still probably gonna mean you're gonna go to jail. Now, and you feed them in the sense that you bring them the stability, you bring them the reality that they're completely unable to access on their own because they have no chance of grounding. And I also think that, or at least no chance of grounding the way that they're operating or have been operating. You have the ability to help them with that if this is healthy and mutually beneficial and something you both want to do. It could be very healing for both of you, for example, for you to bring them more stability and strength, and for them to bring more levity and playfulness to your world. So there is a lot of emotional healing there. But also I think that emotionally this connection feels, the power of this connection feels more like it's in the future than it is in the reality. And that's a very scary thing if that future is something that only you're building and this octopus person is just verbally painting for you, because that is going to be something where I feel like this octopus person just wants to be needed and needs to be needed so badly, but really they need others. They think they need to be needed, but really they're the needy one. Maybe that's why they need to be needed, but like they need so much attention and validation, and like they really do crave that. And so I feel like you give that to them. However, you have certain limitations like a job and obligations and physical needs that require sleep. Like this is the type of person, and this is a specific example. I'm not saying this person is like this, but let's say on the more negative end of the spectrum, let's not say negative, let's say on the more distorted end of the spectrum, you have the type of person who is upset that you haven't responded to them in 6 hours because you've been sleeping, but they're at a warehouse on ecstasy and they're having a great time, and now they're feeling needy and they're mad that you're not responding, and so they're gonna go look for validation anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that they would do that. However, I am saying that this energy could do that. And that's something to be aware of. Trust actions, not words. Connecting spiritually, this is the big problem. The fact that we have this Seven of Pentacles in reverse. And it's crazy too how this octopus person kind of matches. You will not be able to connect with this person spiritually unless they are open spiritually. This person, I would say, and see, here's the thing, you don't have to be like, this person I think could have grown up in organized religion. I would say they believe in nothing and are an atheist, or maybe agnostic. But I think that they're also someone who, even if they were religious, even if they were outwardly spiritual, I don't think they're really connecting with their higher self right now. I think that this connection is something that could create the opportunity for them to start accessing their higher self, to start accessing spiritual energy and their own spiritual essence and their own spiritual connection. But that is something that's not there right now. It's also something where if this person, especially if they are on the more distorted end of the spectrum, if this person uses like spiritual terms, trust that they probably don't understand them on the level they're claiming to. Because this kind of gives me a similar energy of a person who thinks that they are spiritual, or a person who thinks that they are religious, but they don't really access the true essence and energy of spirit. They just stand behind the worldly principles, or just they're more focused on the human aspects. Like, they're not really like integrating. Let's just say this person isn't awake spiritually right now. They could definitely awaken spiritually, especially if this is a mutually beneficial, healthy relationship. They absolutely could, but it would be a long time coming, and it would also have to be their own process. Because one thing for sure, like, this person will not awaken spiritually if they don't want to, as long as they're close-minded to it. And in fact, I would say for you, that might be very hard, because you could feel like you guys have a spiritual connection, and maybe you do. Maybe you connect to their higher self, but if you connect to their higher self, there's a disconnect between their higher self and their 3D self. Point blank, period. So whatever insight you get from their higher self, it's not going to translate to actions and behavior that their human self does. So not only could that lead to more confusion, but you could totally be investing in a version of this person that only exists ethereally at this point, and that is not even remotely close to even having the opportunity to ground. So if spiritual connection is not that important to you and not a focus, then this isn't that essential, because there is potential for a lot of healing here and a lot of substance. And I think realistically too, whatever this octopus person would be for you, I do think that they would play a pivotal role in helping you see clearly what is best for you, for better or worse. But with that being said, the Lovers in reverse, this really speaks to the reality that physically speaking, you guys are super incompatible. And I'm not talking about physical intimacy like biblical relations. I'm talking more like your day-to-day lives. Now, your biblical relations actually could be very fun, and like one of the things that keeps y'all coming back for more. However, that is a very small component of partnership. Well, not a very small, but it's an important component of partnership. But you know, it's not everything. And in fact, it's a part of partnership that is not. It's a part of partnership that can be eroded by the day-to-day things. And one of the things that the Lovers card talks about in the Rider-Waite, the lovers in that card are depicted as being in the Garden of Eden. And one of the things that the Lovers kind of talks about is, you know, kind of like the honeymoon phase. And it doesn't always have to be a honeymoon phase, but the lovers as an experience that you feel with another person, that like spiritual connection, that like divinity, you know, that pull, that draw towards another, it doesn't always last, you know. It makes me think of that Sabrina Carpenter song, Honeymoon Phase. I was listening to Sabrina Carpenter before she blew up, and I'm so glad she did, because she deserved to. She's a fantastic singer, but listen to that song, it's great. It's a song about the honeymoon phase and just hoping that the honeymoon doesn't fade. Like, I hope we stay the same after the honeymoon fades is like the point of the song. So I don't feel like right now, if you guys, and this is a point, like, you guys really could work really well if you get the physical logistics worked out. Because if we turn these two cards upright, if this octopus person is the type of person that can grow, that can show up, that can take accountability, and that, you know, is not just saying everything you want to hear and doing the opposite, but is really, you know, treating this as a partnership and stepping up and expanding, this could be quite powerful. And the spiritual connection, I would say, is something that if this is able to be a healthy and mutual relationship, it's something that would still take time to establish. And truthfully, I don't think it would be the most important component of the relationship anyway. It'd be a lot more about what's happening on Earth. I actually feel like you would feel more connected spiritually through your physical interactions than you would just through how you would ever connect spiritually, whether it's through spiritual practice or through 5D, whatever. I don't know. What I do know is that this card being in reverse, the logistics of life and the logistics of Earth, practical things, that is the biggest incompatibility here. And it's also the biggest thing that makes the situation either unable to continue or something that is not a good choice for you. Because the lovers can also talk about a choice. And so this type of connection, especially if this octopus person is someone who is not is not in a balanced place where they're ready to grow, where they're ready to evolve, where they are in a distorted place and they have no interest in changing that, at least at this time. It definitely seems like if you were trying to hold everything together, you'd basically be choosing between yourself and what you want, what you need and what you want, what you love and what you fear. Like, it really feels like you have to choose things that aren't loving towards yourself because you're afraid of losing that person or afraid of losing that connection and that partnership, when realistically, if they are not able to meet you in the ways that you're able to meet them, and they're not able to grow and change, and they're not even willing to be honest with you, because that's a big thing, then you kind of know. And you will, like, that's one thing why I said, like, why time is really important here, because time will reveal everything. It always does. But I will definitely say you guys are not compatible in terms of how you live your lives, and that will take some adjustment and mutual effort. Like, you cannot, this is the type of relationship where if the octopus person is not in it, it will reveal itself, it will wreak havoc in your own life, it will erode your own peace, and you will be brought to a decision of, do I choose myself, or do I let go of this thing that I've become very attached to in this hypothetical future I've built with this person that I love deeply, or that I do not want to face the prospect of losing. And I think the thing is too, is that if this person is not someone that is able to, you know, be accountable, evolve, grow, I think that when you would choose to separate yourself from them anyway, if it was something that was truly wreaking havoc on your life, you would see in hindsight, like, yeah, I had rose-colored glasses on and all those red flags were just looking like flags. But I don't want to sit here and villainize villainize. And I don't see them as demons or villains. I just see them as people that could be unhelpful to your life, your world, and completely incompatible with the future you want to build if they are not truly also wanting that and willing to put in the work that is necessary to be in a healthy, balanced partnership. And one thing I will say is that unless this person is worth, or you truly desire to do the heavy lifting and the leading in a relationship, if you do desire that and this person is honest and willing to grow and evolve, I think this could be something very solid once you work things out. And I think it's something that could, you know, it could be very compatible and enjoyable once those challenges are worked through, especially because I feel like this octopus person, if they're more balanced and able to be a healthy partner with you, they're going to bring a lot of inspiration and a lot of creativity to what you're already building, and just make what you're already building better, and also bring in their own new ideas, and you'll provide them with the information and the wisdom and the tools to start building for themselves too. So in a lot of ways, like, this connection is one where you really have to ask yourself, what's truly serving me here? Because this situation can serve in the right circumstances, but in a lot of other ways, this is the type of situation that serves you by showing how you're not being loved right, and how love isn't validation or reassurance or just communication. Love is so much more than that. And also, romance and love aren't the same thing, because I think this octopus person, for some of you, could be very good at romance, but not very good at soul level, deep love, because they can't even feel or register that for themselves, let alone anyone else. So, whew, that was a lot. Oh yeah, I knew this was gonna be beefy. I'm not shocked it's an hour, but we're gonna go ahead and finish this reading off by looking at the purpose or the point of a connection like this. And for that we have, okay, 5th house, creativity. So number one, I do want to say the 5th house is the house of children. So if you are involved with this person, and reproduction is something that's on the table or being discussed, please, for the love of all things that is holy, make sure you know what you're getting into before you do that. Because if this person is on the distorted side, I promise you that's not a process. I hope you enjoy being a single parent, because that's what you're gonna feel like, and that'll probably feel even worse if they're like around. Because they might not even, on the distorted side, let me clarify, on the distorted side, they might not even stick around for that, and that nobody deserves that. And that's why I do go to the lengths to describe the distorted side, because if they are on the distorted side, if this person is on the distorted side, not only would I say that they are not even, like, with the way that they are operating right now, not only do they have no business even looking in your direction, but I would also say there's a reason why you're looking towards your serenity and your own peace. Because this person will not add to it. Unless, and I will say in general, whoever this octopus person is, they are not going to add to your peace. They could, however, add to your fulfillment if you are able to have a true and equal partnership with them. And that takes time, work, and also knowing this person on a deeper level, which can take time, and it can also take time when you're not sure what's real and what isn't. So patience is definitely required here. But I'm going to go ahead and read this card, and I'm just going to give you the opportunity to look at, or to just give you the opportunity to hear everything in it, and then you can take what resonates for you and discard the rest. Every child is an artist. The problem is staying an artist when you grow up. And that is bars, Mr. Picasso. But see, Pablo Picasso, excellent artist. Not so great partner. Read up on that. Not nice to his partners at all. Be happy. Give yourself the gift of happiness. If the zodiac had a, quote, fun house, it would be the 5th house. Pleasure, creativity, and children are all elements of this house. Being ingenious and in the limelight is another element. We find our childlike imaginations through storytelling and fantasy. Playing is very much what the 5th house is all about. That's why this part of the chart also rules over romance, especially the beginning stages. So I just want to start off by saying this could definitely be a situation that is meant to be here for a good time, not a long time, but is meant to show you, number one, potential red flags and people you want to pay attention to, but also number two, things that you should note in terms of like, oh, I enjoyed this. Oh, this was fun, to look for in people if this person isn't someone that you end up having in your world or your future. They're not able to be in your future in a way that is loving towards you and themselves and so on and so forth. But it really does validate, like, this person is less mature than you. And I would also say as well, like, that could be really beneficial in ways where you need to lighten up, and that could be really, really hard when you need help and they're not willing to give it, or they're struggling to. So that requires time, patience, and devotion. And I said I was going to read Parvati, didn't I? I'll read it after this. I promised I was going to do that, so I'll do that. And that's also why this could be very hard, and you could get really attached early on, because like the feeling of like just the romantic feelings could hit you hard really fast. But I am a big proponent. I do believe in easy come, easy go. So when situations, and that doesn't mean it's always necessarily true, but when that happens, I treat it with caution. I don't let myself fall into like just believing it. I take my time, and you deserve to take your time as well, because you are the one with a grounded perspective here, not them. As children, our imaginations know no bounds, and we indulge in creative performances. When, as adults, we dip into this field, we allow our minds and hearts to roam free and produce masterpieces. When the fifth house brings romance, we also enter into a kind of playfulness, a sensual joy that happens inside the playground of adulthood. This card turning up in a reading indicates that you have created or will begin to create something to be proud of, something that will bring others joy. And this could also be someone that maybe, you know, for those of you, maybe for some of you, you know, someone that you do have kids with, someone that you do, they are part of your life and your story. And then, you know, just maybe compatibility things and whether or not they mature kind of depends on how things move from there. But I definitely think that this is the type of connection that is supposed to bring more fun and levity and fulfillment and playfulness and joy to your life, no matter what. And whether it's meant to be the source that helps bring it or inspire you to look for that experience in healthier sources, I think is dependent on the person and the context and the situation. This card turning, you can expect the completion of a project or the accomplishment of a significant goal for which there will be celebration. You have put hard work into a project that will now see the results. Gifts, parties, gatherings, premieres, galas, or even a wedding may figure in. You could become involved in a school setting with children or mostly young adults. Since the fifth house is the natural house position for the sign of Leo, someone close to you, a potential lover, a mate, or the two of you together will make a striking appearance. It's time to go out and be seen. This card may turn up during a time of budding romance. Perhaps your current relationship will go through a positive transformation, or perhaps there is a new potential mate on the scene. The fifth house is strongly tied to artistic expression, meaning art of every kind, from painting to drawing to creating stage sets, costuming, writing stage and screenplays, making films, as well as music. If you're a parent, the fifth house stands for your children. It also stands for their offspring, such as grandchildren, and sometimes even the friends of your children. This card turning up could indicate that a younger relative is about to be singled out for special acknowledgement. The Jupiter card appearing next to the fifth house card in a spread points to awards and rewards, while the Saturn card next to the fifth house card can indicate a depression or the showing up of energy or the feeling of being, quote, stuck. If it were the Leo or Neptune card, it would designate creativity and abundance. So that paragraph, take it as it resonates. None of that makes sense. You discard all of it. But if some of it, like if there are Leo, Neptune, or Saturn placements that or Jupiter placements that are significant, take them. The fifth house card is all about finding joy and creativity and self-expression with a promise of a jubilant return to childhood. It can denote a carnival-like atmosphere where life becomes a three-ring circus, but usually in the best way possible. It is all about multitasking, taking on more than expected, and then making a spectacular success of it. This card is the card of mastery and victory in a deep way, such as that which you already carry inside your heart. All is possible now. The most important thing is to move forward. So that's the biggest thing here is like, depending on who this person is, whether they bring you joy and fulfillment that teaches you a lot and that you take with you into your life, or whether they are someone who is meant to bring a circus into your world and a joyful one, you know, like, it heavily depends. And so I am very interested to hear who you're asking about and what the circumstance is. And it's really interesting too, because these went so in depth, I don't know if they are going to resonate for like someone, like a random person you're asking about. But what I do see here is that this is an example of a reading where you really have to know yourself and know your situation. And I would just recommend when you watch pick a card readings, you just have a level of conviction and what you know and believe, and ideally you wouldn't be here this long if it didn't resonate. But I do think ultimately the point and purpose of this, like, and also too, you know, one thing I was thinking about, I was thinking of Lily Allen. Shout out to Lily Allen. I love her new album. You know, this really speaks to me, like, this energy really reminds me of, you know, that Lily Allen experienced it recently, but like many people do when they have a romantic relationship, a serious romantic relationship with someone who is not who they say they are, and who is, you know, not honest. And she spun that into gold. So it could even be too that the point of this person or the point of this situation is to even bring you creative success and fulfillment. I don't know. All I do know is that ultimately it will bring you closer to yourself, to love, to what you know you want, to making the best decisions for yourself, for joy and fulfillment. And whether that person is able to come along with you for the ride really just depends on whether they are willing to do what it takes to stay in the car instead of stealing a seat from a person who would appreciate that seat and treat it with the respect and care it deserved. Because listen, there's one thing you take from this reading, it's this: being in your proximity is a gift. It is a privilege, not a right. And if people don't respect that proximity, they don't deserve that level of closeness. So, group 3, that's where I'm going to leave this reading. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you so much for letting my ads play in the background while you do something else. That is the simplest and easiest way to show support and appreciation for my channel. But if you'd like to do that in other ways, you can like this video, comment down below, let me know how it resonates. You can subscribe if you haven't already. Be sure to click that little notification bell to be notified whenever I upload a new reading. You can check out my merch, social media, candles. Be sure to use code so 10 for 10% off. You can check out my other videos, ones with extendeds. You can please sign up for my email list if you want to stay connected to me in case anything happened. We can stay in contact that way. Also, I have you can leave me tip. My Cashapp is palehag. My PayPal is my email. You can leave super things, a little like. You can comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys. So thank you so much for watching and for letting me read for you. I'm sending you guys so much love and gratitude and just thanks. You can also just send me love right back. I'll take that. I love that. But yeah, that's all I have. So I love you guys so much. I hope you all have a wonderful day or night whenever it is that you're watching this video, and I hope you'll come back and see me again soon. Bye.